Greetings, folks. This is X from TPOT Media. Open your mind and wake your black ass up. You know what time it is. Hit that damn like button as you make your way in the door. Grab a seat, settle in, get ready. It's the Grown Man Hour with your host, my man, Bernard Riley.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Mumia Obsidian Ali. You know who I am. I need no introduction, right? And you're listening to the Grown Man Hour with my man Bernard Riley, heard weekdays right here on YouTube. What do you think about that? How about that? Now let's get back on with the show. Thank you.
What's up, good people? Welcome back. Yeah, I can see what's going on. You see, we got ARC, the notorious ARC in the building. What's going on, ARC? Oh, you're muted. Let me try to unmute you. Oh, you still...
Now, is that background from me?
You're muted. Let me try to unmute you. For some reason, that's coming from me.
Okay.
Yep, I can get rid of that though. That's coming from me. Okay. Why though? Do I got it on? Oh, let me see. That's coming from me. Hold up. I can fix this real fast. Give me. I got it on. Oh, let me see. Hold up. I can fix this real fast. Give me. I got it on. Oh, let me see. All right, the background noise problem should be gone. My mic, everything look and sound like it. I sound good to you?
No, I'm still hearing some static or something.
The background noise problem should be gone. My mic, everything look and sound like it. I sound good to you?
No, I'm still hearing some static.
It might be you. Yeah, when I mute up, I still can hear it. Yeah, when I mute up, I still can hear it. All right, ARC on mute. We're trying to get the sound and technical issues together. Everything was just fine backstage. So I don't know what's going on right now. How about we're gonna try to drop you out and come back method. We're gonna try to drop them out and bring them back method. Have to just resend the link. I hate when that happens. Right at the start of a good show. Always happens. But let's see. All right, ARC, if you're listening, I just resent the link. Hopefully everything is fine, but while we wait for him to come back, shout out to everybody who has made it in. We got Stoic One in the building. What's up? Salute to you. Tyree Patterson, he says, crazy. I was just watching one of Kevin Samuels' old videos and he was talking about ARC and free attention, LOL, spooky. JD Rich in the building says this should be one for the books. Shout out to you. Ike Ogiaman in the building. I think I said his name right the first time without fumbling. He says, hereafter an all-nighter, I'm likely to do a bit of trolling today. Uh-oh. Jefferson Dominguez in the building says mode 1. We got Frank Friberg in the building. Who else we got in here? Kenny Conjo, Omega Drez. I'm seeing some new faces, a few new faces in here. So I mean, got ARC audience in the building. But what's up and salute and shout out to everybody. We about to try this one more again and see if we got the background noise situation taken care of. ARC.
I think we do.
We got it. We in the building. Good. All right, what's going on? How you feeling today?
I'm feeling good, man. Thank you for having me. And this, if my memory serves me correct, this would be the second most one-on-one interviews I've done with a black male host. O'Shea did probably about at least 7 or 8 with me, but next to him, nobody's ever done more than 2.
Hey, I like that. I like that. Before we get started, let's just start with a easy fill you out question. You know, you're a new father right now. You've talked about that a couple times on this show. I myself am a proud father of sons. I don't post pictures that much. I just recently had the experience of teaching my 12-year-old how to change a tire because my tire went flat for no reason. I was like, all right, it's just an opportunity. I had him go ahead and put the spare on it or whatever, which is cool. So those good fatherhood experiences that I definitely like. Huh? What'd you say?
You said at 12?
Yeah, 12. I mean, it was well supervised. It was well supervised.
Well, kudos to you for starting them early, man. My father didn't teach me how to do a spare until I was about 15 or 16.
Well, you see, what's funny, I was kind of on that same path because my oldest, he's a senior in high school, and I realized I hadn't taught him how to do it. And so the game plan is next time it need to get changed, he was doing it, and then it finally needed to get changed. And I don't know what happened, but he wasn't available. He had something planned, and I was like, all right, go ahead, whatever. You change it when you get back. And I said, nope. I just went down the line, just had his little brother do it. So I'm talking trash to him now. Your little brother know how to change a tire and you don't. But but no, I definitely did that. Tell us something about being a new father. What's the experience has been like?
Man, it's hard to put it in words, man. Matter of fact, I don't even want to talk about it too much. I already got brothers in the manosphere call me emotional at times. I might get emotional. You
already cried on 2 streams. I'm trying to get you. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get ARC crying one of these days.
Did you ever? You might be too young to remember this, but there used to be this ESPN host named Roy Firestone. I want to say.
I'm familiar with the name.
And he would always have these really in-depth interviews with professional athletes. And he would always admit that his goal was to ask a question that would cause an athlete to become overwhelmed with their emotions. And he would take pride. He said, I got you to cry. But yeah, man, my son, man, if anybody follows me on Instagram, that's pretty much all I post on Instagram. There's photos and videos of my son, man. I love him to death. His name is Caden, and he just earlier this week or late last week, on the 14th, he celebrated his 4-month birthday, and he's a funny kid. He's both funny, he's a character, but most infants are characters, and but he has this really cool, calm, collected aspect of his personality that just I feel like it's part of my DNA because clients of mine have said when I do one-on-one face-to-face coaching sessions with them, they say I know how to give them a look. Some people have said, Alan, you have this penetrating stare. And my son, man, sometimes, man, he just looks at me. Just like with this almost penetrating look, man. Where he don't have no facial expression, nothing. He just real chilled out. Just looks at me like, so you're my dad. Okay. And but yeah, I love him to death, man. It's Fatherhood is everything I thought it would be and more.
Yeah, it gets more interesting. It gets more interesting as
I'm
time
sure.
goes by.
I'm
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, wait till you start running around, man. It's a whole new thing right there. But yeah, that's good though. That's good. I do like to hear that. We talk a lot of trash about women around here, but I do like to see a functional, stable, intact family. That's a beautiful thing. And anybody who say anything to criticize that, they know I normally come at them if they criticize a functional family. That's so I do like to see that. But the super chat's coming in hard and heavy. Hey, shout out to everybody. Snuggles, who need to change that name, says it's impressive you started on time. That usually is not a trait that goes when you don't have the complexion for the protection. You all are breaking code. Actually, a little known, well, if you're paying the close attention, the only time I really make sure I start on time is when I have a special guest. I normally start on time when I have a special guest because I don't want to leave the guest waiting for 30 minutes, but I should. Well, that's little known fact. When I got a guest, I normally start on time. But I'll just throw that out there. But shout out to you. Thanks for the super chat. Appreciate that. My man Kenny Conjo in the building. He says congrats to ARC on his marriage book and new fatherhood. Have a good weekend, bro. Bernard and everyone have to head to a meeting now. Peace. Shout out to Kenny Conjo.
Appreciate that, brother Conjo.
Yep. Always appreciate support from Kenny Conjo. Darth Low IQ in the building. Says support the brothers. Shout out to the big homie ARC, the GOAT, Indiana.
I got a Hoosier up in here. Okay. That's what's up.
And also Melody in the building. He says, I feel bad for whoever you laying up with right now. I hope he in on it if that's what's going on. Don't pull the birth control trick on him. None of that. All right. I'm sorry, Melody. Appreciate the super chat. I ain't seen you in here in a minute, so I'm glad to see you back. Oh, moderators, make sure that y'all drop in the links to where people can buy the ebook. That's something I always forget to do when ARC come on. Drop the links. I know y'all dropping the links to his channel so people can sub, but make sure, especially as the audience get bigger, that y'all are dropping the links as to where they can go to find this new ebook and all of his other books. So yeah, get all those links in there. ARC, you could drop them in there. So if you want to, if you could drop them in there, and then they can copy and paste it so they make sure they getting it right. That's something that want to make sure we doing, and we sending people where they can go to actually get the book. The Master Trucker in the building. He says, "Congratulations, ARC, on Fatherhood, brother and Bernard. I just recently showed my son how to do. That's what's up. So my son how to do an oil change, and he's 11. Showed them manhood early. Right on. I ain't ready for that one. Showing him how to do an oil change. I can do a tie on him, but yeah. First thing I want to ask, and I was touching on this off the air with you, because a lot of people probably didn't know or didn't understand that this is basically like a rewrite of The Possibility of Sex. And so I was thinking that it was going to be the same book, but it's really not, because I haven't read the ebook of Possibility of Sex. I listened to the audiobook of Possibility of Sex. And while I was reading the ebook of No Free Attention, I was doubling back listening to The Possibility of Sex, and it felt like it was two completely different books covering the same subject matter, but two completely different books. So explain that, touch on that, like what's going on with that one? Because is it just a reshoot of the same book, or just like almost like a part two where you expand more?
Well, number one, that's an excellent question to start off the conversation. Yeah, because it started with of my 4 major books, which would be Mo 1, Ooh, Say It Again, The Possibility of Sex, and The Beta Male Revolution. Possibility of Sex was the only book that I didn't have a paperback version of. All the other books, I had all 3 versions. I had ebook, paperback, audiobook. But with Possibility of Sex, I just had ebook and audiobook. So ever since 2012, really, because that's when I came out with that book, a lot of guys have requested, because you know, some people think reading paperbacks and hardcovers is out of style, because you know there's always been this generalization that men don't like to read. But I have quite a few followers, supporters, and clients that like, you know, paperbacks and or hardcovers. So I had a lot of guys requesting a paperback version. And matter of fact, to mention Obsidian's name real quick.
Uh-oh.
Obsidian, no, not in a negative way, but no, he actually, back in late 2015, early 2016, he wanted to sponsor a book signing in Philadelphia for the Possibility. He loved The Possibility of Sex. I'd say out of my 4 books, that was the number 1 book he loved the most when we first connected. And yeah, he wanted to sponsor book signing, but one of the reasons we couldn't do it, I told him at the time, I said, I don't have that in paperback form, because nobody really does a book sign. I mean, obviously by the title, book signing, if you just have it in ebook or audiobook form. But so anyway, I started with, okay, I'm just going to basically copy and paste everything that was in my original Possibility of Sex book and just publish it as a paperback. But as some writers do, I'm not the only one, some writers do, once I got in the flow, I said, well, I want to add this, and I want to point out this, and I want to just, you know, modify this. And long story short, by the time the book was finished, even I was like, okay, in many ways,
it's a new book.
I would say if I had to divide it into 2 parts, because it's divided in 2 parts, there's 5 chapters in part 1 and 5 chapters in part 2. A large part of the content in the 5 chapters in part 2 is generally the same. There's a few differences and modifications, but it generally keeps a lot of stuff intact. But a lot of the content in the first 5 chapters in part 1 is almost like totally different. And my people who've read it so far have pointed that out. They're like, Alan, it's good that you changed the name, because they basically said what you said. They said this is pretty much almost like an entirely new book.
Yeah. What sparked you to have to add so much more to it, to where now it essentially became a new book? Like what was it that made you say, I gotta add this, and then, you know, what led you down that path?
A couple things. One, I think the most prominent thing was that when I came out with The Possibility of Sex, a lot of guys looked at that as shoulder pad kings, as a book that was just basically trashing women. And of course, a lot of guys like that. You know, in this space, a lot of guys like when you have a book that, you know, at minimum, you're calling out women on their bullshit. And, but I wanted to point out, even with my original book was not intended just to call out women. That was a major point, but that wasn't the only. I wanted to point out on the male side, in relation to the whole direct versus indirect debate, I wanted to point out for men that when you choose to be indirect, you're going to face a lot of consequences. In a nutshell, you're going to put yourself in a position to get played. So I expanded more on that in this new rewrite, and particularly in part 1, that You know, you could say women are no good for manipulating guys and misleading guys and whatnot. But the first thing you got to do is you got to look at your own behavior. Are you exhibiting behavior that opens the door for them to do that?
Yeah, definitely. That was actually one of the first questions I wanted to get into is possibility of sex, beta male revolution. Men love those ones, and you kind of just touched on why, because it puts it on women to, well, not really that it puts it on them. It just shines a light on the BS that they do. And by the way, this video, probably because of the thumbnail, it already got a yellow $sign on it, so feel free to go ahead and be cussing and doing all, you can be as vulgar as you want to, just by the way.
I'm not familiar with what's the yellow $sign. I don't know.
Oh, okay. No, that just means that it's getting limited ad showings. I thought you
okay.
Yeah, basically the reason that we try not to cuss on the streams is so you can get as much advertising dollars, but sometimes if the title or thumbnail got like the word sex is in the thumbnail and all of that, so that makes them may put limited ads on it. So we try to not cuss to avoid so we won't get limited ads, but seeing as we already got the yellow signs, it's gonna be limited ads anyway. We can say what the fuck we want now.
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah,
I could be raunchy. ARC.
Yeah, feel free to let loose. Feel free to let loose. But yeah, when men have a problem with mode 1 and Ooh Say It Again, and my interpretation on that is mode 1 and Ooh Say It Again puts the onus on the man to do something that could very well go against his programming to get a different outcome or a better outcome, whereas possibility of sex is just in beta male revolution just highlights this is how these women are. Mm-hmm. And so it's like men are comfortable with that one, but when it comes to the doing something to try to counterpunch it, that is they pull back on that one. And I have me personally, I have my pullbacks on mode 1 because I cracked the code on it. It's hard for me to do that because I just never was that that quick with the tongue, verbally seductive, all of that stuff. So I just indirect was just more my speed, and then once I got comfortable, I got a little more direct once the ball was rolling. But yeah, speak on that. How men like possibility of sex in the beta male revolution, reasons why they don't like I shouldn't say possibility of sex. No free attention now. Why they like beta male?
It's funny because I'll see how things play out, but even though just about all the feedback I've gotten up to this point has been very positive feedback, a lot of guys love the new rewrite, no free attention, but I anticipate that at least a percentage of guys, they're not going to like the rewrite because for the reasons why a lot of guys don't like Mode 1. See, Mode 1 is my book that challenges men to hold a mirror up to themselves and say, okay, basically, what are you doing wrong? Mm-hmm. It's like Mode 1 is like, let's push women to the side. Let's push all the flaws and weaknesses of women to the side. What are you doing? Specifically, Mode 1 asked the question of, are you knowingly and intentionally being a liar? Are you knowingly and intentionally being a disingenuous and misleading manipulator? Are you knowingly and intentionally being a verbal coward? And see, a lot of guys don't like to answer those questions. So that's why Mode 1 gets hated on a lot. And then the secondary, of course, is that a lot of guys just feel like being very verbally bold and straightforwardly honest with women about your sexual desires, interests, and intentions is just way too unconventional, particularly in a Me Too environment. Who Said Again? I don't know if I would say Who Said Again gets hated on per se as much as a lot of guys honestly don't have a lot to say about Who Said Again. Like, it's like a lot of guys, they don't say anything positive about that book, but they don't necessarily say anything negative about that book. The main thing I've heard as far as a criticism of Who Said Again is that I've heard guys say, Alan, come on, man. That talent, you have a talent for erotic, dirty talk and verbal seduction. And some guys, their attitude is you can't teach that. They're basically like, you were born with that. So that's the one, probably, if any criticism I've gotten Who Said Again is that I don't see how you can think you can teach guys how to be more of a master seducer and be better at dirty talk. That's something you either have or you don't have. But but I got a lot of guys who just love, like, because see, one of the things I would say that made the possibility of sex unique when it came out was there was really no other book like The Possibility of Sex when it came out. Like, there was other books where a guy who called himself some kind of dating advisor, such as a dating coach or what have you, might have had one chapter where he was exposing flaws and weaknesses of women's behavior. But there was never a book that was almost solely dedicated to exposing the manipulative tendencies of women. Like, most books in the manosphere, particularly early on, were all about how to meet a woman and get laid, And then I came out with The Possibility of Sex. It had nothing to do with getting laid. It had to do with identifying women that you shouldn't be trying to get laid with. And a lot of guys at the time considered that revolutionary. They was like, damn, I ain't never read a book like that. I had a lot of guys say that when it very first came out in 2012. They was like, I've never read a book that just was telling you basically what women to avoid interacting with. And so it ended up on quite a few guys. I had a lot of guys send me links where it was ranked in, like, I've never considered myself a MGTOW advocate or a proponent of MGTOW. Matter of fact, sometimes I've bumped heads with guys who are MGTOW enthusiasts. But The Possibility of Sex, interesting enough, ended up on a lot of guys' top lists. Like, different guys who ran blogs, they would have, these are the top 10 books that all MGTOW guys should read, and Possibility of Sex would always be on them. So, yeah, I never did. Here's the problem I've had with The Possibility of Sex. In the same way Mall 1 gets hated on a lot and criticized a lot, Possibility of Sex gets copied a lot. That's the most negative thing that's happened with that book, is that a lot of guys are just flat out taking large portions of that book and just basically copied it without giving me proper credit attribution. I can call out some names, but for now I won't.
Yeah.
I'll hold back at least in the early part of the conversation. But
that brings me to a question about well, I found it interesting in the book when you was explaining why you changed the name to No Free Attention. It's connected to what you said right there. So go ahead and explain that one, the purpose behind changing the name to No Free Attention. Because I'll go ahead and say something that might make you blow a gasket. There was a moment when I thought the term No Free Attention was created by your dear friend Alpha Male Strategies. There was a moment until you corrected the record. It was calm down, relax, breathe. There was a moment when I thought that was his term, but so you can go ahead and elaborate on that one while you change your name. And shout out to Old Dirty Beanie. He says shoulder pad king salute.
Well, since you went ahead and put his name out there, now I can talk about it. Yeah, there's he ain't the only one. There's quite a few guys who've mooched off of the talking points in my book, The Possibility of Sex. But if I had to narrow down to the one most notable guy, it's Alpha Man. And here's the interesting thing, though, and I've told this story a few times before. Here's the interesting thing. He started off giving me credit for it. When he was just starting to rise to popularity, which was around spring of 2018, roughly 3 years ago, he would tell his guys, he would say, hey, man, there's a lot of stuff that ARC says that I don't care for, but at least 2 of his books I think you should buy. And that's The Possibility of Sex and The Beta Male Revolution. I remember because I saw clips where he was giving those books dap. He would tell guys, he did a whole video in spring of 2018. He probably took it down now because of our various beefs. He did a whole video about the Beta Male Revolution. Like, he was big up in Beta Male Revolution. He was like, hey, man, this book is one of the best books I've ever read. He would always preface by saying, y'all know I don't really care for ARC because he says a lot of shit I just don't agree with. But he said, this book, The Beta Male Revolution, this book is the shit. And right behind The Beta Male Revolution. But then what happened was he reached such a high level of popularity with YouTube subscribers and Patreon subscribers that I believe what happened was he said, well, shit, why I need to keep dapping up ARC for? I'm going to present this as if it's my own shit. And that's what, honestly, what he started doing. And that's when our relationship started going left, because at first, I never really had any animosity towards alpha male strategies. We had more of a, when he first started out around December 2017, we had more of a friendly rivalry. We would take jabs at each other, but they were lighthearted jabs and they had, a friendliness undercurrent. But then what happened was there was guys who was following both he and I. And they were the first ones to call him out. It wasn't me who first called him out. It was my followers. Followers, again, who were following both of us. They started listening to his videos. And anybody knows that one of the talking points I popularized in the not only black manosphere, the worldwide manosphere, was discussion on distinguishing the appeal of a man's sexual companionship versus his non-sexual companionship. Matter of fact, speaking of alpha male strategies, I remember a couple years ago, O'Shea was interviewing me. And we touched on it briefly in this one-on-one interview about, because that's when he was first starting to get a lot of accusations. Speaking of O'Shea Duke Jackson. And I asked O'Shea straight up. I said, because O'Shea had been around for a while, I said, O'Shea, before you came in contact with me, who else did you know that was using the talking point of sexual companionship versus non-sexual companionship? Matter of fact, I wrote an article on O'Shea Duke Jackson's website, the Negro Manosphere, about it in 2017. And O'Shea said, nobody. He said, you the first man I ever heard talk about that. And yet, AMS just basically took that talking point. Now, see, here's the thing. A lot of people have said that I've suggested that AMS has basically taken all my stuff. In many ways, it's interesting. Me and AMS are almost simultaneously very, very different and very, very. If you were to divide game, which sometimes I say in the book, I have funny thoughts about that term, but I'll go ahead and use it. There's 2 types of game. Well, really, there's multiple types of game, but for the purposes of what I'm talking about now, there's game related to helping you connect with women sexually, basically get women in bed. Then there's game like The Possibility of Sex that helps you quickly identify women that are trying to run game on you. Mm-hmm. And so comparing me to AMS, when it comes to our respective piece of advice on how to connect with women, we're like night and day. Ain't nothing similar about us. But where we overlap, mainly because he's copied a lot of my stuff, is when it comes to the advice about how to prevent women from running game on you. And that's where he just stole a whole bunch of my talking points. But anyway, it was my followers. They started telling him in his comment section, they was like, yo, AMS, man, we like you, man. But that's Alan shit, man, you talking about. With the whole sexual versus non-sexual, no free attention. That's Alan shit, man. And his response was, instead of saying, yeah, you're right, he started saying the game is the game is the game. And that's when our shit went left, because I was like, fuck that. Fuck the game is the game is the game. I know what's my original talking points. I know how I articulate stuff. No 2 men should be articulating their knowledge, wisdom, and insight in the exact same way, using the exact same words, exact same sentence, exact same phrases. If they are, somebody's copying off the other person. Like you could have 5 guys that could talk about the subject of how to get laid, how to be better with women in bed or something like that. That's a general subject. Nobody can claim ownership over a general subject like that. Good girls versus sluts, or alpha versus beta. Excuse me. Nobody can claim ownership. And then I'll touch on a side note. I'll touch on the subject of copyrights because I've addressed that a lot and people have asked me questions about it. Here's the thing with copyrights when you're a book author. Copyrights do not give you ownership over general subjects. So again, use an example of, if I write a book that essentially has a theme, how to get laid better or how to get laid quicker, and somebody else comes out with a book about how to get laid better or how to get laid quicker, I can't say, oh man, you copying off of me. That's my subject. No, you can't take ownership over general ideas, general subjects.
So, but let me ask though: is that part of the part of the reason for that that change in the name in the rewrite? Well, I consider it a different book, but
I was getting to that.
Because now you can essentially, when somebody use that phrase or put it in writing or do anything with it, now you have more stake now, or is that kind of what's going on?
Yeah, because the probably the biggest takeaway from the possibility of sex, the original version, was 2 things. Number one, my signature phrase, no free attention, and more in depth was the idea that if you haven't had sex with a woman yet, or you at minimum you're not on the verge of having sex with a woman, then you shouldn't be giving her unlimited access to your non-sexual time, attention, and companionship. And a lot of guys, man, like even before I got on YouTube, man, I don't remember anybody having videos about using my phrase, no free attention. I did one about 2 months after I got on YouTube. I got on YouTube in April 2017. So I want to say I think it was in May of 2017. I did a video called No Free Attention, an introduction to the archetype of women known as manipulative time wasters. Within 6 months after I did that video, man, there was probably like 24 videos on YouTube with the phrase no free attention in it. And one person I'll call out by name, and I'll give him a defense because he did apologize for it, but Stefan Clinkscales. I remember Stefan Clinkscales, man, he did a video simply called No Free Attention, and I wrote him, and I said, yo, man, what you doing? And he was like, what? I said, that's my shit, man. And he didn't try to give me no pushback. He was like, oh, man. He said, my bad, man. I thought that was kind of like just a general manosphere term. I didn't know that was unique to you. He said, so then he either changed it or took it down. But he was very apologetic, so I give him that credit. Matter of fact, the most recent in this category is somebody who initially gave me at least a little bit of pushback, but then he ended up apologizing. He wouldn't be known in the black manosphere. He's kind of, I think, Middle Eastern. You ever heard of a guy named Myron Gaines?
I heard the name, but couldn't tell you nothing about him, but I'm familiar with the name.
He's the PUA out of Miami. And he did a video just last year called No Free Attention. And I came in his comment section. I said, yo, man, how can you do this video without mentioning my name? And he was like, well, Alan, with all due respect, I've been using the term no free attention since probably like 2017, maybe even 2016. And he was saying it like, like I've been using it a long time there, buddy. I was like, bruh, I've been using no free attention since 1988. And then he just got quiet. Then he was like, well, damn. He said, then you the godfather, bruh. He said, then you the originator. If you've been using it that long, he said, then you the originator. And then he invited me to do an interview, and he interviewed me.
Well, you initially put it in a book where it's on record in 2012,
yeah,
right?
2012, you could say is the most documented record
Okay.
But I have it. Yeah, I put because it was an original possibility of sex in 2004, both in the ebook and the audio book. And then guys just start taking it and using it. Now some guys will repeat it and they would give me credit. Like there's a white guy in the manosphere named Richard Cooper, who was a fellow speaker of mine at the 21 convention. He did a video once, I think in 2018, called No Free Attention, but he mentioned my name. He gave me credit. He gave me what's known as proper credit attribution, which is what you're supposed to do with a book author. So he used my phrase, but he gave me credit for it. He said, Alan Roger Curry was the one, who came up with this and started using this, and I'm using it for this video. So I didn't have a problem with that. But when guys use that, and so anyway, I'm kind of, as I do, go along with it. To answer your question more simply, one of the reasons I changed my rewrite title from The Possibility of Sex to No Free Attention, because I was tired of people repeating my shit without giving me credit for it, man. So I said, I'm going to make sure motherfuckers give me credit. I'm going to make sure that now when people use No Free Attention, it's almost like they're going to be promoting my book, which they are now. Because now if you go on Google and put in No Free Attention, first thing that comes up is my book.
Shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson in the building. He says the sphere in the building. My man Osama Abdu, he says waiting for ARC, Reg, and Man Quiet Storm podcast. I don't know about that. Is there a story behind that one, or are you just playing?
Well, Quiet Storm, what he means is
I know what Quiet Storm is, but it's the
Quiet Storm with older brothers, like
okay.
And so he said, he's like, all you old niggas, you need to just collaborate and have y'all old nigga forum. And so, yeah.
I think some people's super chats disappeared on me. But hold on, give me a second. Dirty Beanie, he says, oh, baby, I like you. Oh, baby, I like your gold. Author ARC is cashing checks. How many carats around your neck? You ain't got to answer. Who else we got in here? I think I saw Ty City. That's funny. He said ARC, Alan Roger copyright. That's funny. That's too funny.
See, I'm gonna have to steal that. That's pretty good, man. Alan Roger copyright. Very appropriate nickname.
Alan Roger copyright. Real quick, what are the phrases that people say? This is the last thing we'll say about the whole copyright or whatever. What are the phrases that if somebody say it and they don't shout you out, when lightning strike that night, they gonna see your shadow on their wall? What are the three phrases? I mean, what are the it's a few of them. I know it's
probably a long list, but if I had to narrow down to three, well, I already gave one, obviously, No Free Attention.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that's arguably my single most signature phrase that has been copied the most. If I had to narrow down to just one, would be No Free Attention. One that doesn't so much have to do with the content of my books, but more of a lighthearted, is on my videos. Insert dog face here. I haven't really heard anybody really copy that though. One of my archetypes, in my books. I have my 5 archetypes: reciprocator, rejector. I give people a pass on those two because you could argue that those are generally kind of common universal terms: reciprocator, rejector. But those other 3 archetypes I have in my books, I created those myself. Those aren't general manosphere terms, which is wholesome pretender, erotic hypocrite, and manipulative time waster. And I would say out of those 3, I've heard a lot of people repeat manipulative time waster without giving me my proper due credit. They'll say that term like it's just like a general manosphere term. No, I came up with that. That's my shit. Another similar would be, speaking on the category of archetypes, for men, I have 4 archetypes, which is total alpha, alpha with beta traits, beta with alpha traits, and total beta. Now, alpha and beta, of course, are universal terms. But those 2 hybrid terms, I came up with that. Some people have had the misguided notion that those were general manosphere. No, I came up with that. I remember specifically, it was in the late 90s. I came up with those two hybrid terms. Nobody else was using those terms. An alpha male with a few beta traits and a beta male with a few alpha traits. But I've occasionally heard people use those terms without mentioning my name along with it. And of course, that irritates me. So,
wait, hold on. Stop the show, ARC. Hey, ARC, we about to pull the plug. We about to just stop the show. Go to the titty bar or go tricking somewhere right now, ARC. Let's go. Let's get the hell up on out of here.
Is that the largest?
Yeah,
that's larger than that before.
Huh?
Have you gotten a larger super chat than that before?
No, he gave me a Kevin Samuels style super chat right there. Shout out to Big Ike. Shout out to Big Ike. We can stop the show and go home. I'm done.
Man, if y'all getting super chats like that, y'all, because what's been one of my kind of interesting things, histories here on YouTube related to that?
The super chats?
Well, it more so be related to lack of super. Well, I was just going to say, I'm one of the few black male content creators that's literally never, ever done a public live stream. All I do is Patreon exclusive. Well, no, I take that back. Technically, I did do one. My very first video on YouTube, when I first became active on YouTube, the very first video I did was actually a failed attempt at a live stream. The video quality was horrible. I only had I think 10 people watching. So after that, I was like, nah, I ain't never doing no. And then after I saw some of the drama that took place in people's chat rooms and stuff, I was like, nah, I ain't doing that shit. But I mean, y'all can make some nice money, man, per day and per week, man, just on super. But that Ike, man, shout to you, man, for that type of generosity, man. That's
yeah, Ike is that dude. Shout out to him. Season D1, it's a lot of brothers that come through and support this space just beyond belief. I mean, they leave me at a loss for words. I get humbled by some of the support. Like that's real talk. That's real talk.
I bet.
Yeah. Shout out to Ike. Shout out to Ike. He got me sitting here at a loss for words. I forgot where the interview. Where I'm. Okay, here we go. I'm sitting here trying to figure out what was my next question. I don't even know.
We were talking about the last question you had asked me was what are some of the more popular signature phrases or signature terminology that I feel other people have copied without giving me credit for.
Okay, yeah.
The last one I mentioned was the alpha beta hybrid, the two hybrid categories.
Yeah, that's actually coming back. I did a stream. A woman did a video, and some guy sent me an article where they were calling it the women what they actually want is a high value beta male, and I was like, that ain't what they really talking about is like a beta male with alpha traits, really.
If you read my book, I'm almost certain you was gonna bring that up because I mentioned that in my book.
Yeah. Yeah, but I've been thinking that before. Well, are you talking about, did you mention it originally in the possibility of sex?
No, that's the thing. That's one of those things that's new. I mentioned that, the term beta male with alpha traits is not new, but in this new rewrite, I say, when I'm talking about the archetype of man called beta male with alpha traits, I said, in today's manosphere, a lot of guys refer to these type of guys as high value men.
And
you know what? I know some people going to consider that controversial, but
I didn't notice high value. Did you put high value man in there? Probably because, in the interest of time, when you were giving your definitions of different archetypes, if I knew the definition, I just let me skip past that part where because I already knew it. So that was for the new readers, just making sure that they got the baseline. So that's probably why I didn't realize that you mentioned high value man in there with beta male with alpha traits. But yeah, that is a thing that they are talking about. Women are talking about it, men are talking about it, and that's they want that high value man who's smart enough to make that type of money, but dumb enough to to let a woman run them and control them, and that's what they looking for. So yeah, so no, I didn't even realize you put that in there. But yeah, that's a thing going on now. Shout out to Chosen. He says, "Bro, that's ARC's spot." Hey, well, off the record, but on the record. Hey, last time ARC came through, I sent him what was what can be called an honorarium.
O'Shea used to do that, man. And since he was here, shout out to O'Shea. Every time he did a one-on-one interview with me, he always gave me a nice little honorarium, which I thought was very classy, very cool.
Yeah, I take care of all the OGs after one-on-ones. Obsidian, BGS, Angry Man, ARC, LAR. They normally get a. I gave even Ramil. They get a little something. Yeah, even Fantastic. I go and make sure I drop something. Drop something on Fantastic Super Chat. But normally the OGs. BGS, ARC.
Man, I heard the way you said that. You think you slick?
What?
You said you used OG twice, which was really saying I usually hook people up, but for them really old ass niggas,
no. I mean the people who really put in that work, like me and Fantastic, we got like the same class, so that was just a mutual respect. Hit him with a big super chat after me and him do a one-on-one. With Ramil, kind of the same thing, even though Ramil was here before me. But hey, when I start talking about you BGS Angry Man, you're like, look, y'all was doing this long before I was married and
well, see, let me touch on that for a second. Let me touch on that real quick. I've actually mentioned this on Sister George, your arch nemesis, Sister George's channel. But I was over on her channel within the last 2 to 3 weeks. And it's funny, man, when you talk about the manosphere, and more specifically, the white manosphere versus the black manosphere. Some guys who have only followed the black manosphere, particularly younger guys, I say guys in their 20s, maybe their 30s, they think I'm new to this space. And the one guy who recently, I don't remember the guy's name, and if I did, I probably wouldn't say his name, but there was a guy in Sister George and Concrete Rose. He said something to the effect of, yeah, man, ARC be talking like he'd been around longer than this guy and longer than this guy, man. Nobody heard of ARC until around 2017, 2018. And I was basically like, nigga, I've been on the scene since 1999, before a lot of people was even regularly on the internet. I was on here dropping game. I was probably, arguably, if not the first, definitely one of the top 2 to 3 first black guys that had a recognizable name in the white manosphere, or what I typically call the worldwide manosphere. Because, yeah, man, my name was known among white manosphere followers, again, as early as 99. I'd say no later than 2002, 2003. My name would be mentioned on a lot of the white manosphere sites. And so, man, I've been around longer than a lot of people. Like, I was around, somebody one time tried to say that I decided to copy Eric von Markovic, who I'm actually Facebook friends with, aka Mystery Method's business model. I was like, I was around before Mystery Method. Mystery Method didn't really start becoming popular until around 2004, 2005. Now, because of the book The Game, he did gain more national popularity than I did, but I was a presence on the internet before his name was ever mentioned.
Mm-hmm. That's shit. Ty City just sent something. Yeah, I heard. Well, Ramil made a case that you sort of. Well, we don't got to bring up how Ramil brought the emotions out of you, but yeah, Ramil made a good case in that stream on how you started a lot of this stuff. But
yeah, Ramil. I'll say this. Number one, he gave me a lot of praise, which again I very, very, very much appreciated. It did. It moved me to what I call the Denzel Washington from glory tier.
Mm-hmm.
But where he kind of went somewhere where I necessarily haven't. He called out a major white manosphere figure. I'm not gonna say his name now. If you say it first, I might go ahead and touch on it, but I'm not gonna. But he was like, I'm slightly paraphrasing words, but Ramil basically said, not only do I feel like Alan Roger Curry has inspired and influenced most of these younger black dating coaches out here, and that they've bitten off a lot of his talking points, but he said, I think so-and-so, who's again a major
I say it because I don't care nothing about them white dudes. Rollo Tomasi, is that who we're talking about? Who's like the founder?
Man, he said, I don't care what anybody say, man. He said, if you read The Rational Male and read Alan Roger Curry's possibility, he said, number one, you can look at the copyright. He said, Alan Roger Curry's shit was first, man. He said, there's a large parts of Rollo Tomasi's book that's really just a regurgitation of ARC shit. And honestly, and I want to preface, I do like Rollo. I've never had any contentious animosity with him whatsoever. We tend to have mutual respect. But that said, there's been guys who have echoed what Ramil said. Ramil ain't the only one who said that. Because when I interviewed Rollo when I had my Blog Talk radio show. And I remember shortly after that interview, some guys said that. They was like, Alan, man, I'm gonna be real with you, man. I think Rollo, man, he just took some of your shit from the possibility of sex and put a whole bunch of big words behind it, presenting more intellectually eloquent language. But a lot of the shit in that book, man, is really your shit. And I just was like, no comment.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pin down, okay, do great minds think alike, or did he actually see your shit and say, you don't know? There's no way of proving it. There's no way of proving it. So it's almost like you kind of just gotta just be glad that it's out there. Somebody else said it, but you really can't. You can't really do nothing with it.
You summed it up perfectly.
Yeah. Grown man business in the business says, but we're dusty. Hashtag men first. Shout out to Snuggle. He says, Ike Small Axe cut down big trees. $5 in full effect. Now let's begin. Right on. Appreciate all the support. Big or small. Appreciate
that username cracks me up, man.
Oh yeah. He be killing me every time I see it. Shout out to Black Wolf Inc. He says, good morning, Captain. Check your Cash App. Salute OG Mode 1 or Mode 1 or die simping. Shout out to I got that. Thank you for that Cash App. That sent a $50 Cash App. Black Wolf Inc. Requesting a one-on-one. I try to make that happen. I try to make that happen with the person you put in there. I don't want to put it out there right now, though. All right, here go Ty City hating. No, just playing. He says, Ninja ain't heard of you, ARC, because you've been in the book business. All right. I thought Ty City was gonna come with some stuff, but shout out to Ty City. All right, let's get into the chapter 5. This is a part of the book where a lot of men probably gonna have a problem with this one. There's a lot of things where in the first 5 chapters where I wouldn't say you was calling out men, you were just putting the onus on men to like, look, this is what women do. If you're doing A, B, and C, you're opening yourself up for this, so you need to do this. Or that's sort of how it felt, to sum it up. I don't know if you.
No, you were actually right the first time. You being nice, I did call out that. If there's one chapter in this new rewrite,
well, no, chapter 5, you went in.
Okay, I thought we were talking about chapter 5. Okay.
Oh yeah, no, chapter 5 you went in. I'm talking about. I'm at the first 4.
Oh yeah, the first 4 chapters. Yeah, I don't really go in on men, but I do highlight the fact. I don't want to give away too many details, but in the nutshell, what I highlight in the first 4 chapters of the book, and you can even include chapter 5, is that one of the biggest, and I wrote an article on O'Shea's website about this on the Negro Manosphere. It was called, I'm probably going to mess it up a little bit. It was called The Fear of Rejection Weakens Your Backbone. That's one of the single biggest things, in my opinion, and that was a large part of the basis for my original Mode 1 book, is that when you're afraid of rejection, and more specifically, you're afraid of quick, straightforward and or abrupt and harsh rejection, it makes a lot of your verbal communication become weak. It makes it become hesitant. I say at bare minimum, it causes you to become overly cautious. I'll say that's the bare minimum thing it causes. It causes you to become overly cautious. You don't want to say anything that you think is going to be perceived as controversial, too blunt, too forward, insulting, disrespectful. And
but let me ask you this: do you think it's just a inherent fear of rejection, or is it the, no pun intended, but there's a possibility that I could get some sex. I don't want to do something that's gonna I don't want to overshoot my shot and mess it up. It's like these guys are trying to, be right in that, that medium balance to it instead of just going for it. It's almost like guys are not scared of rejection. They just trying to bunt or base hit, whereas mode one is swinging for the fences every time.
Well, see, this relates to also connected with my history in the manosphere. See, my early claim to fame when I hit the scene was pretty much everybody in the manosphere in the area of dating advice was given, basically offering some variation of indirect verbal game, which right. In my books, I call either mode 2 or mode 3. Most people, just about everybody, was either promoting some variation of mode 2 or some variation of mode 3. Now, I think 98% of the people in your chat room are pretty well versed, but just for that 2% that might not be, the difference between the two, when you're exhibiting a mode 2 verbal communication style, that means your verbal communication style is what I already said, is cautious to one degree or another, tends to be friendly and entertaining, and most prominently, it tends to be very vague and ambiguous. Whereas mode 3 is when you just flat out being blatantly dishonest, blatantly disingenuous, blatantly misleading and manipulative. And I'm very harshly critical of mode 3. Mode 2, a lot of times I give mode 2 a pass if guys are set on doing it, but my main warning, which relates to my book, Both Possibility, Sex, and No Free Attention, is that the main weakness of mode 2, if you mode 2 and say you run cross paths with a reciprocator, you're good to go. It ain't going to hurt you. If you cross paths, say, with a wholesome pretender, it's going to take you longer to identify that she's a wholesome pretender, but it really ain't going to hurt you. When the number one time mode 2 is going to hurt you is when you cross paths with a manipulative time waster. You're going to get played. You're going to get played. And mode 1 pretty much puts a halt to manipulative time wasters like within the first 5 to 10 minutes of your very first conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of guys, so one reoccurring theme in those first 4 chapters of this new rewrite, No Free Attention, is that I'm telling guys, man, the more afraid you are of rejection, you're just going to open yourself up, because that's what women play on. That's what manipulative time wasters, that's what they bank on. They bank on you being scared of mainly 2 things. Manipulative time wasters bank on women, on men being scared of rejection and being scared of being criticized and insulted by them and just generally receiving a negative reaction from them. And so women can sense that. This is not my own opinion. This was based on my experience and observation, as well as women telling me this. Women can sense when a guy is afraid. And this relates to the whole delineation between nice guys and bad boys. Now, on a quick side note there, I don't like to say it, but a lot of my followers have said, most recently, I think about a month and a half ago, somebody came in my comment section and said, Alan, this goes back when you was asking me about talking points I either originated or popularized. Somebody said, Alan, nobody gives you credit for really starting the whole alpha-beta dynamic, which honestly is the truth. When I first came on the scene, guys weren't using the delineation of alpha male versus beta male. The main delineation that was going on in the late 90s, early 2000s was nice guys versus bad boys, or nice guys versus jerks, or nice guys versus womanizers, players. Shout out to Ron Wills. He has a book called Nice Guys and Players. That was, matter of fact, like the term that guys used back then, if you're a long time follower of the worldwide manosphere or the white manosphere, instead of beta male, the term was AFC. I don't know if anybody in chat room is old enough to remember that. That was the main term for a guy that was generally unsuccessful with women. It was either nice guy, you were labeled a nice guy, or you were labeled an AFC, which stood for average frustrated. Matter of fact, just 2 weeks ago, I happened to run across a PUA glossary of terms, and it had AFC in there.
What does AFC mean? What does that mean?
It stood for average frustrated chump.
Oh, okay.
Average romantically and sexually frustrated chump. That was the term all the PUAs used when they wanted to talk about some guy who was unsuccessful with women. They would say he's an AFC, or at minimum, they would say he's a nice guy type. I was the one who came on the scene and started throwing around alpha beta. Because I remember when I was on AskMan.com in like 2002, 2003, 90% of people on that forum used to be like, what are you talking about? What is this alpha beta shit? What are you talking about? And I would go and, describe, and they were like, oh, next thing I know, no more than 5 years later, man, everybody and their mama was using alpha and beta. Alpha, beta, alpha, beta, alpha, beta, alpha, beta. But it was this brother, man, that really, because I included that in my 1997 copyrighted version of Mode 1. I was talking about alpha, because what sparked it with me was in the early 90s, I was watching this special on, I think it was the Animal Planet or the Discovery Channel. And I was doing different stuff, and this special caught my eye, and they was talking about animal kingdoms. And they kept using alpha, beta. And what was most intriguing to me, they were saying, it's like paraphrasing the words, but they were saying in certain animal kingdoms, if you're a beta male, you don't get first dibs on the female species. Alphas who always give, they didn't actually say first, I'm paraphrasing the word, but essentially that's what they said. They said in certain animal kingdoms, only the alpha males of that animal kingdom get first dibs on the high quality female companions. Beta males, in worst case scenario, beta males don't get any sex at all, or in best case scenario, they only get to have sex with female companions after the alpha males are done with them. And I was like, shit. Matter of fact, he was the one that really made me go, shit. They said, I think it was one of the 8 families, they said it's so bad that sometimes if an alpha male comes and sees a beta male copulating with a member of the female species that the alpha males find desirable, he will threaten the beta male, basically in human terms, be like, motherfucker, get off this pussy. This is mine. I'm claiming this is my shit right now. Get out of here before I whoop your ass. And I was like, damn. I was like, imagine if in the human world you was in your crib fucking a woman and some dominant alpha man just comes in and be like, hey, man, get up off that pussy, man. I'm claiming that shit. That's my shit. Well, technically, I don't want to get to digression, but I did a Blog Talk Radio episode where I was talking about the age of the conquerors. Actually, that shit did happen among humans.
Oh, yeah.
But that's another story for another podcast. But yeah, in the age of the conquerors, motherfuckers would come. That's what the conquerors were about. They would come to your land, number one, to take your land. So put it in slang terms, they would come to you and say, okay, all this real estate, I'm taking this shit. Your bitch is fine. I want your bitch. All your material possessions, I want your material possessions. If you bad enough to stop me, step up. And you either had to step up, or some guys would actually take a sword and commit suicide. Some guys would they would rather kill their wife than see their wife raped in front of them. Yeah.
Or they fight and get killed, and then whatever happened after they dead is what it is at that point.
Matter of fact, the dude, when I was on a cruise in 2018, I went to Cartagena, Colombia. And if anybody's been there, they know that there's this wall with all these cannons. And there was this dude, I call him a brother. He wasn't really a brother because he was Colombian, but he looked like a brother. He was the tour guide. And skipping over miscellaneous details at one point, because these older white people were like, what is the significance of these cannons? What is the significance of these cannons? And so the tour guide, he said, okay, do I got any blush easy types? Can I keep it real? Can I use frank language? And they were like, sure. And I'm going to be slightly paraphrasing words, but he was basically like, the reason why you got these cannons here in Colombia, because all these guys from Italy and Spain was just coming down here just raping the finest, sexiest women we had. It was just boldly just coming down here raping our women. And the Colombians was like, we got to put a stop to this. So that's one of the reasons why you see these cannons here, because we're just like, basically like, okay, come on now, motherfucker, try to rape our bitches. We're going to fuck you up. But he said that's why you got all these different mixtures and mixed breeds and stuff. Because he said Italians and Spaniards, man, he was like, them motherfuckers was like, if you bad enough to stop me from raping your bitch, step up.
Yeah.
So anyway, I went on a long tangent, but I was talking about alpha beta. Yeah, so that's what provoked me to start using alpha betas after I watched that special where they were saying that animals, it made most humans seem very humane and civil. Because I was like, man, them alpha male monkeys and shit, they just take the pussy. They like, this is my pussy now.
Yeah. Shout out to Silent Lamont. He says ARC has copyright on vowels.
Okay, now let me touch on that. For a quick second. Because thank you, Sir Tice. I appreciate it. Al says we brought Alvin Australia. He cracked a joke one time on this video with these 3 other PU dating coaches. They called themselves the 4 Horsemen. And he was about to say non-sexual attention, and then he lightheartedly stopped himself. He said, oh, I can't say that word because, as we all know, some dating coach has claimed legal ownership over their words. So I guess I can't. They all start cracking up. And I didn't get irritated at that because it was funny. I admit, I laughed myself. He's like, nope, can't say that word. That's off limits now. Because that one dating coach, he owns all the words in the manosphere dictionary. So, he can't use the word. Let me clarify something real quick on that. And I touched on copyrights before. You cannot copyright or take ownership of an individual word.
Right.
Well, with the exception of if you just came up with made up some word like Bernardo Zucca or something, I don't know. But if it's a common used word, you cannot copyright or take ownership of a single word. Here's what copyrights protect. And I mentioned earlier, you can't take ownership of a general subject or general idea, such as the subject of good girls versus kinky sluts. Nobody can take ownership over that as a general subject. What copyrights protect is your unique expression of a particular subject, how you specifically articulated it.
Mm-hmm.
I always use the example, you can have 5 guys on an NFL pregame show talking about the Packers versus Buccaneers. So let's call that the general subject, Packers versus Buccaneers. But each analyst will articulate their own unique thoughts on that upcoming game. In book form, that's what you can copyright, is the way you articulate your unique thoughts, opinions, beliefs, attitudes, assertions on that subject. And so I know when somebody is articulating stuff just like me. More so than me is my followers. Everybody thinks I'm the first one to call out copycat. It's always usually my followers. They would be like, Alan, man, there's this dude. I'll give you one more and then I'll shut about naming names. There's this guy, some people in the Black manosphere might know him, but some people, he used to go by Darius McDowell. Now he just goes by Darius M. Man, he got a video he did just in the last month or two. It's ridiculous how much he sounds just like me. Literally, it's ridiculous. I posted on my community page, man. It's ridiculous. You listen to that, I challenge anybody to go listen to that video. I guarantee you, if you're familiar with my shit, and then listen to Derek. And here's the kicker. And we talked about this on your channel before. Here's the kicker, Bernard. Here's what really chaps my eye. I just got to say it. It's one thing when somebody just copies my shit. But the worst scenario is when somebody is hating on me, criticizing me, insulting me, and then turn around and copies my shit. And that's what Darius here. Just 2 years ago, he did a video, and so we were saying that I was full of shit. And that the Mo One approach was full of shit. He's basically like, the Mo One approach don't work for guys. It's all about looks. It's all about looks. If you're good looking, you're going to be successful. If you're not good looking, you're not. It's all about looks. And now he got a video where he's basically echoing a lot of my talking points about Mo One. It's like, nigga, really?
Shout out to Sir Tice. He says, wow, we go back to the Blog Talk Radio days. Congrats on the revision ARCs since I own all four already. Maybe I'll buy it or be back a Patreon.
Now if Sir Tice don't mind, I got to tease him a little bit. I like Sir Tice, even though we've had some disagreements, but they've generally always been respectful disagreements. He's never like hated on me, but he'll give me what I would call intelligent, mature, objective-minded pushback a lot of times. But one time on my video, speaking of the whole copycat thing and stuff, I was saying that I'm the first one to say this. I'm the first one to talk about that. And I said, I challenge anybody to find some sources where written sources, documented, copyrighted sources where somebody's talking about this and this and this before me. Guess who came and filed? So, I said it technically didn't apply because it wasn't written by guys in the manosphere. But he found these really like scholarly books where like somebody had mentioned alpha male and beta male before me. And I think somebody was talking about something else. It was two things. He found two sources on one talking point and one source on another. I know one of them was alpha versus beta, but it was by some, I think, man or woman who was some old white lady that was she wasn't no part of the manosphere. But I was like, okay, touche, Sir Tice. It showed me that he was willing to do that research to just say, okay, RC, I got you. I said nobody. But I had said nobody in the manosphere, but anyway. But I like Sir Tice. He's cool.
Yeah. Shout out to Corner Store Podcast. Appreciate the super chat. Also, Abdul Jones came through, says, morning, brothers. Shout out to Abdul Jones. And my man, Osama Abdul, in the building. He says, BRARC willing to have round two with MGTOW Dictionary, one of the most entertaining and highest rated in Grown Man Hour history. I'm still dying. Classic. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I haven't spoke with him since he was on the show. It kind of happened on the fly. He just emailed me, said something about doing the show. I was like, all right, come on. I just looked at his content real quick, and I'd seen him on 2 panels, and I was like, all right, come on, let's go. But yeah, it did turn out to be a good show when I had him on. I don't know if he hopped on one time, the other time the ARC was on, or if he sort of summoned ARC with his critiques. I don't know which one happened first, but that was
I gotta be just real with that dude. Like I was just talking about Sir Tice. Sir Tice is giving me pushback on different things I said, but it was always intelligent, objective minded pushback, which I welcome, man. But when you go to straight personal attacks and hating,
yeah.
MGTOW Dictionary, fuck that dude, man. Fuck that dude.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and that's one thing I have cleaned up on this show, bringing people on. So for that, yeah, now that I think about it, I've cleaned up people coming up to personally attack other people, but criticism of content and talking points is where I'm at. But no, that is fair. He does, yeah, you're right. He do go a bit far when it comes to the personal aspect of it. Like it's fair in the building with all caps. Damn. He said, notice like to have losers copy you and not give props. I'm all for calling out unoriginal, non-creative goofies. Shout out to Ty City.
Let me ask you something, Bernard, real quick, because I always use this analogy. Because people, sometimes say I overreact with the whole, getting on copycats case. If you might be too young to remember, but who was the most well-known person in the music industry that was the music industry equivalent to ARC?
Little Richard.
I would probably rank him number 2. So that's a good guess.
Okay.
James Brown, man.
That was my next one. That was my next one.
James Brown, man. So I had a predecessor to James. A lot of the young guys probably wouldn't remember because they're just too young to remember. But when it comes to the category of somebody who was upset over feeling like people were copying his stuff, swagger jacking his style, James Brown, man, in the early to mid 80s used to make a big stink of that shit. Particularly, like, I remember the dude with Michael Jackson and Prince, when they start reaching the heights of their fame, a lot of the media starts saying, wow, we've never seen anybody be able to sing and dance at this. Because most people either did one or the other. They either just stood at a mic and sing, or they would pause their singing and then go dance. But there weren't too many people who would be doing high energy dancing while they were saying, I mean, number one, you got to be in exceptionally good shape to do that shit. You got to be like in the shape of like a professional athlete to do that. So people were like, yeah, Prince and Michael Jackson, oh my God, they're wonderful. And James Brown basically came out to the one where he said, no. I'm the motherfucker who originated that shit. I'm the motherfucker who was singing and doing high energy dancing. But then shortly after he came out, Little Richard came and basically like, nah, James, I was before you. I'm the one who influenced you. And but yeah, it wasn't so much he had personal beef per se with Michael and Prince, because I think he knew that they respected him. He didn't like the media, though, giving them all that shine and not giving him any shine. But then the turning point was he had, as he was starting to retire, he had this performance, and Michael came on stage and hugged him, started crying. He said, there's a lot of people who've been an influence of my entertainment style. And then his voice cracked, but he said, no man has influenced me more than this guy right here, pointing at James Brown, and they hugged. And I would say within weeks after that event, you never heard James Brown. He didn't want no money, no, he just wanted his respect. He wanted his OG respect.
Yeah. I see
the dating coaching world.
I was just about to say, I see the parallels. I was you want AMS to come and put the cape on you like
I love this brother sister humor, man. You quick with it, man, but that's good shit. Yeah, shit, yeah. I want AMS to put that cape on me like Michael put that cape on James Brown.
Yeah. That was a classic moment, man. That was a classic moment.
It was, man. So yeah, I want to hear AMS voice crack and say, hey, man, you know, there's a lot of dating coaches influence me, but nobody more than this man right here.
Then you will leave it all alone. You won't.
I'll be like, hey, man, give me a hug, brother, man. Number love, man. Number love, man.
Yeah, that's funny. Oh, let me get back on, because I was trying to get back into chapter 5, because I was talking about the one part in this book. There's a lot of new stuff in the book. This is a part where people are gonna have some disagreement with you, and I don't necessarily want to challenge you on this. I just want you to further explain when you talked about men lying to women. Mm-hmm. I agree that the full-blown, blatant, flat-out lying, no, you can't do that. I said I've always start out very indirect, and once momentum get going, I might get a little more direct once the momentum get going. But far as just a flat-out lie, telling a woman you want a relationship and telling her you want this and you want that, or I always say the dudes out there telling a woman a 5-year plan and how they gonna include her in it and all of that stuff, just giving a that's just flat out playing with her emotions like that. I'm not with that. So I'm with you on that part. But the problem I saw is that you included that up there, because when you talked about sexual coercion, I think I said it. But yeah, I said it right. I'm fumbling on my words. It's like you included it in the same chapter where you was talking about guys not properly getting consent. Well, you put in parentheses verbal consent, and but the the problem I was having with it is like we went right from that to talking about. Well, I'll go ahead and say it because we already been cussing and saying all kind of stuff. Talking about rape and date rape and all of that. Like when you start talking about all of that, you're talking about a full-blown actual crime. Lying, just flat out lying to a woman and telling her you want a relationship just so you can get to sex and then be up out of there like gotcha bitch. That's more like a no. Like, dude, don't do that. That's wrong. But full-blown rape, it's like how you put those in the same chapter as if they the same thing. That was why that chapter 5 I know is gonna rub some men the wrong way, because you went from lying to a woman to get to sex to full-blown rape to full-blown Elliot Rodgers murderous incel. I'm like, whoa, so go ahead and
hey, I'm gonna tell you now, early on, I say for pretty much the entire 20th century and maybe the early part of this century, 21st century, I'm with you. I consider lying to women more to be representative of just an unethical no-no, than say something that could provoke legal consequences. But in this day and age, matter of fact, somebody just sent me, like, I think it was 2 months ago, article where they passed a law in, I want to say, I hope I'm not confusing the country, I want to say it was Denmark. Denmark just passed a law that states if a woman hasn't given you explicit verbal consent to engage in sex with her, more specifically casual sex with her, you could be charged with a crime.
I would have been done over there, because I said before, my method was I never just full-blown asked the direct question and awaited the direct answer. I was just like, when it came to the point where I was either inviting her to my house or offering to come to her house, while we're there, it's like, just scoot closer, start rubbing on the knees, start nibbling on the ear and the neck and get her going. And then once she don't stop me, then she can have her plausible deniability of, hey, the vibe was right and one thing led to another, and then we just gradually just roll into the sex. But it wasn't until I started really reading your stuff that I realized I never just ask a woman, do you want to have sex with me, and then await an answer. That's part of the indirect game. Make it feel like it just so happened to happen, because that's kind of what they want, because that's they program and they don't want to feel like that hoe that just gave it up. And
well, see, yeah, I could actually do a whole show just related to this question, this topic. But number one, that scenario you described. See, back in the day, that was acceptable. But I don't know if the name Katie Costner rings any bells. I've mentioned it quite a few times on my channel. She's considered the nation's #1 sexual assault and date rape prevention activist. And I did just a few months ago some collaborations with her. And matter of fact, I didn't know this until I collaborated with her. Do you know on most, not all, but most major colleges and universities, you have to have verbal consent. Not because, see, before there was 2 types of consent. You could get verbal consent from a woman, or you could get nonverbal consent. Nonverbal consent would be related to that scenario you described. Like, say you invite a woman over, you say you start kissing on her, making physical moves on her, and she doesn't push you back.
Exactly, yeah.
Or with the flow. That was considered nonverbal consent, which was for a long time acceptable. But now, because we live in this Me Too era and everything associated with that, colleges have now adopted, on major colleges and universities, if a woman doesn't specifically say, I want you to fuck me, and you have sex with her, she can charge you with date rape. She can turn around and charge. And that's why I remember when I was on here just within the last couple of weeks, I was saying, I hear a lot of guys in the manosphere talking about, they'll make this kind of, oh, come on, man. Women want you to lie. Women want you to manipulate them. They ain't naive to this. They want you to. No, they don't. Or I'll say yes and no. Women, no woman wants you to lie to them or try to manipulate them unless they think it's to their long-term advantage. And the main advantage that women gain when you lie to them or attempt to manipulate them is you give them the advantage of plausible deniability, which in more practical terms means in that scenario that Bernard described, a woman can on Friday night look like she down to have sex because you kissing on her, she ain't rejected you. But let's say y'all sip some glasses of wine early in the evening. Now, let's say, and this would be out of Bernard's character, but just for hypothetical work. Let's say Bernard smashed this woman named Tanya. And then he goes to his boys and says, hey, man, y'all know Tanya Williams? And they're like, yeah, Tanya Williams, real classy chick, man. You know, like a good girl type. Oh, nah, man, she ain't no good girl. Man, I fucked her the first night she came on my crib, man. She ain't nothing but a two-bit slut. I done fucked her, man. She ain't shit. She ain't no good girl. And that gets back to Tanya. What you think, Tanya, how she gonna react? She gonna be like, oh, it's like that, huh? Oh, okay. Next thing you know, you just sitting in the crib and they knock on Bernard's door. They say, are you Bernard Riley? Yes. Yes, you've been charged with date rape. Tanya Williams has charged you with date rape. She said she never gave you verbal consent and that you just start taking off her clothes in an overly aggressive manner and you are charged with date rape. And you're gonna have to come to court. Get a lawyer and defend yourself. I don't want a woman to ever have plausible deniability with me. That's one of the contributing reasons why I'm all about Mo 1. I want a woman to specifically say, Alan, I want you to fuck me. And just about every time I fucked a woman, that's what I got them to say, either face-to-face or many times I got them to say that in an episode of phone sex before I ended up physically fucking her. I want a woman to say, Alan, I want you to fuck me. I don't want nothing ambiguous, man, particularly in this day and age. And we mentioned Rolo earlier. Mm-hmm. Rolo was talking about a lot of this, I think it was late 2019, early 2020. He was talking about how, like that case with Denmark I was talking about, and he gave me a shout out. He said the way feminism is moving, he's basically like, guys, y'all need to take notice to this. He said the way certain feminists in certain countries are working, he mainly highlighted Australia. He said they're getting to the point where just lying to a woman and emotionally manipulating a woman is going from being in a zone of just being unethical to being representative of a crime. And he said, moving forward, I think the best approach to use is Alan Roger Curry's Mo 1 approach. It might not 100% prevent everything that could happen, but of all the alternative options, he said the Mo 1 approach is the best, and I agree with it. And Katie Costa said the same thing. She said the same thing about my Mo 1 approach, man. But yeah, man, you can't. I mean, when I think about invalid date rape charges, I always think of Brian Banks, man. Dude, Brian Banks is a much better man than me, man. Man, I would have came out of prison with so much bitterness. I mean, you think here guys in the manosphere, and particularly the black manosphere, have bitterness and resentment towards women? If I had to serve 5 years in prison for just unbuttoning a woman's blouse, dude, that would have fucked me up, man. But he had a spiritual mentor in the movie. It was played by, who was it played? Now I'm forgetting. Played the spiritual mentor in the movie. But anyway, if y'all
I'm laughing because you have a way of stopping your show when you try to remember who was that character that played in that movie.
Yeah, I'm forgetting. I want to jump on Google, but I don't want to get distracted from the conversation. But that's what helped him prevent, just like, when Denzel played the boxer.
Yeah.
He had a mentor that helped prevent him from being bitter. But, man, anyway, so I don't want to go on a longer digression about that. But, yeah, Chapter 5, I'd say without question, if there was a vote a poll for, out of my 10 chapters, chapter most likely to be disliked by many men reading it is going to be chapter 5. But yeah, I go in hard, not only on the extreme level, I go in hard on guys who physically coerce women into having sex, like, physically date rape women. But yeah, on a lesser extreme level, I go in on men who blatantly lie and emotionally manipulate women, man. I ain't never respected that shit, man. I ain't never co-signed with it, condoned it. I just think it's foul, man. And I've seen some guys experience some retribution and repercussions from that shit that would make some guys think twice about it, man. One story I told, I recognize it's a real extreme, but a friend of my cousin, man, he simply toyed with a woman's emotions in that regard. Man, she came to his crib and shot him in the head. Just shot him in the head, man. That's where that saying comes from, man. Hell hath no fury like a woman's scorn, man. I don't ever intentionally try to toy with no woman's. I've seen it on a minimum level. I've seen guys get their tires slashed and vandalized. I saw a woman blow up a dude's car. Just poured gasoline in it and blew it up simply because he had toyed with her emotions, man. I don't do that shit. I did a video called Never Leave a Woman in Worse Condition Than You Found Her. My attitude is, man, I let women know straight up, hey, I ain't gonna never be your boyfriend. I ain't gonna never be your future husband. I just want to fuck the shit out of you. And I know you want me to fuck the shit out of you. And they either gonna say yeah or nay. But I ain't gonna be telling no bitch, oh yeah, I love you. I love you. I love you.
Yeah, I can't go that far and do that. It was only one time, and I felt bad about it. I never did it again. It was one time where I felt like well, put it like this. I was genuinely sold that she was genuinely a good person, and she was genuinely, looking for her husband. Like a lot of them may say a bunch of stuff, but I was genuinely convinced that she was who she was saying she was. She made it very clear what she wanted, and I should have just backed off and walked and went on about my business, but I didn't. But when it was all said and done, I was like, you know what? I was wrong. So it ain't. I don't even know if it's just a moral thing. I can't explain it, but I just was like, nah, I ain't doing that no more. I did. It was one time I did what would qualify. I'm sure you would qualify it as some mode 3-ish behavior. And I was like, nah, that ain't me. I can't do that. I'll be indirect, but I'm not going to sit there and, because when you tell that direct lie, you deliberately, just playing with emotions, and you don't have to do that. So I'm with you on that part of it, but I do. I mean, I hear what you're saying on how you go make the step from flat out lying to a woman to how the society is going in a way where, in some places, if not here at some point in the future, who the hell knows, they're going to start putting that up there with your I hate you. I can't even fix my mouth to say it to get that in a category of rape, but that might be where they're going. That might be where they're going.
You ever watch Law and Order Special Victims Unit?
Oh yeah. Well, not in a while, but I used to watch it all the time.
Yeah, I love that show. That was like I haven't watched it in a while, but for a long stretch, and my wife knows, like when me and my wife first started cohabitating, we used to watch that like every night before we went to bed. Episode of Law and Order SVU. And one of the juiciest episodes they had was related to there was a different type of line. It wasn't so much lying as in I love you and I want to have a long-term relationship with you. But what it was in this storyline on this episode, there was this guy that was a janitor at a high, like an Ivy League type institution, but he would perpetrate like he was the admissions counselor. So when good-looking women would come on there and ask them how could they get their kids admitted into college, he'd basically be like, if you give me some pussy, I'll make sure they get in. And they'd be like, okay. And then it really ain't funny, but it's funny. Then after, of course, he fucked him. He basically be like, "No, I can't do it for you." So one woman was so upset she brought it to the SVU unit, and the woman who plays now the lead character, I think the name is Olivia Benson. She's now lieutenant. She used to be sergeant. She makes the argument. She says lying should be a crime. You should have to go to prison. But then her and Ice-T kind of get into a little light debate because Ice-T's like, "Come on now, Olivia. You my girl. But you talking about making lying to get some pussy?" Well, he didn't actually say pussy. Essentially, that's what he said. He said, "You gonna say lying to get some pussy is a crime?" He said, "Man, I grew up in New York. I told every woman I was this rapper. I'm probably gonna fuss his name. Molly Moore, something like that." He said, "I told all women I was Molly Moore's little brother. They'd always get."
Uh-oh. Damn it, we lost ARC. We lost him. I mean, I probably won't need to resend the link, but I'll resend it anyway. I'm sure you could just retake the same link. Let's see. Hold on. We got to get AR. Well, hold on. Well, while we wait for ARC to come back, I'll read these super chats. This old Dirty Beanie in the building says, "Shimmy, shimmy, ya, shimmy, yam, shimmy, yay." Okay. I create the style, then to take it away. Off on a natural change, mind voyage, mode 1, baby. We live in large. Shout out to you. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Come home, ARC, come home. Fasting is life in the building. Appreciate the super chat. Some of y'all super chats probably disappeared. That much is true. Some of y'all super chats probably disappeared, but I'm trying to make it up to all of them. The Max Trucker in the building. Question for ARC. I'll put this one back up when we get ARC back in the building. He said, "Have you ever used mode 2 through 4?" Well, I can answer that. Yeah, he said he's definitely used mode 2. Yeah, he's actually used all of them before. I can answer that one for him. But yeah, he's used all of them before. But mode 1 is his weapon of choice. Everyday Valet says, I think he means to say, "Pump and let her dump, catch and release her." Catch her and release, or I think he's trying to say, "Hit it, Black Ram 313. Let Black Ram 313 tell her your real views after you smash." Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Pump and let her dump is a real thing. That is a real thing. Mr. Shane Vicious says, "Legalize sex work, pay the hoe, keep it simple." And my man Coach Ali in the building says, "Sounds like Dave Chappelle was on to something with the love contract. What's your Cash App, ARC? Got to show some love." Somebody knows ARC's Cash App. Y'all can drop that. Y'all can drop that in there. I think I got all of them. I think I got all the super chats. Let me see if I could send another link. ARC is like, I saw him Borg a little bit. Then he just boom dropped off. ARC, if you're listening, I just sent another link to your email. Just sent another link to ARC's email. Hopefully he'll be back in the building pretty soon. He says, "Damn, he was really sniped." Nah, he'll be back. We shall see. American Negro says, "Great show. Appreciate it." But to that question, he says, question for ARC, have you ever used mode 2? He said he was using mode 2 before he started using mode 1, but I think even after he developed his whole mode 1 strategy, he still, I think he said he used mode 2 again, just, I believe he said that he used it just for science. He went back and said, "I'm going to try to be in mode 2 and just see, just fill it out." I think he did something like that. Mode 3, I don't know if he ever did that. That was a question that I wanted to ask him. Now that I think about it. Ike said the white man held him back. I did want to ask him that, but as far as mode 4, he would tell you that story of the chick that was treating him like crap on a little triple date or something like that. And he cussed the chick out and went full blown beast mode on her, as somebody says right there, as Debo W says right there. He went beast mode on the chick, and then she got in line. And that's something that I've always said, that when it comes to temporary situations, yeah, chick will fall in line, and for a guy that she's trying to have sex with. But don't be. I caution guys, and this conversation came up yesterday when I was talking to Sister George. Is like, don't be thinking that for the long term, these out of pocket chicks that you can alpha your way through it and get them to act right. Now they out of pocket. But short term, yeah, you can seduce an out of pocket chick and get her to be feminine and submissive for however long it takes for you to bust a nut. Yeah, that's possible. That's definitely possible. But no, you can't. They for the streets. They leave them in the streets. Leave them in the streets. Yeah, I can see right there. ARC's books are available. You can go to audible.com. I think audible.com is where you can specifically find this new ebook. And other, well, hold on. Let me make sure I'm not tripping, because I think all of his books, his audio books, are, I believe, on Audible. I'm forgetting where stuff at. Yes, audiobooks are on Audible. The ebook, I believe, is on Amazon. So you can go on Audible and get his audiobooks. The ebook is on Amazon. Fasten His Life in the building. He says, Ike Ogiamin can't trick more than the trick king. Grown Man Business says, damn alley cats. Let's see. I was just about to get into some good questions. The next question that I had on the table with him, it was a few good questions that I was about to put on the table. I was going to talk to him about the whole concept of no free attention, because conventional wisdom says that if you're dealing with a woman, pursuing a woman for sex, you by default got to give them some attention. And something else that was mentioned is, he talked about how it's important to not come off as thirsty, as overly horny. But if you're only talking to them about how can you engage in sex with them, how do you pull off that without coming off as just the run-of-the-mill typical horny dude? So those are two questions that I got on the table that I'm going to be asking him. Is somebody asking what's my Cash App? Is that What Joe 100 asking what's my Cash App? Is scrolling on the screen. If it'll help you, somebody can drop the link to it. A moderator can drop the link to it. Ike says it's all a sales game. Yes. I've said it plenty of times. Men who are good at sales are typically good with women. They're typically really good at pursuing women. Walt, thank you for the Cash App. I appreciate it. We're going to give ARC time to make it on back. I don't know what's going on there. Appreciate that Cash App. He says they prosecuted a dine and dash dude in New York City. What? Well, They didn't prosecute him. I mean, yeah, you stealing food. He wasn't prosecuted for what he did wrong to the woman. He was prosecuted for stealing the food. But I do get to know, because if the woman just got up and just me and just running her way up out of there, she wouldn't be prosecuted. The guy would be the guy would be held responsible to pay for that meal, even if he said that me and her had a verbal agreement. Me and her had a verbal agreement going in that she was going to pay for this meal, then she just ran up out of here. So she is responsible for paying this. I can give you her address. Y'all can get the police involved and y'all can go arrest her. They would say, no, sir, you have to pay. So I do understand how that it is a point worth pointing out that that if he, for whatever reason, gets up and leaves and she's there, yeah, she wouldn't have to pay. They will send the police to his house, even if it was agreed upon beforehand that that she would pay. Yeah. Absolutely. Fantastic says, thank you, B. Riley. Now you get it. He says, Fantastic said, America is all about hotection. Hotection is actually a new one. Hotection is actually a new one on me. I haven't heard hotection ever. Haven't heard hotection. But to what Ike is saying, let me see if for whatever reason, let me see if dropping the link in the chat room will help ARC. I haven't received no email correspondence, nothing back from him. I'm drop the link in the chat and see if that help him, and then give him a little bit of time, and then I'll more or less open it up. If we ain't gonna be able to get him back here, I'll open it up for a little while. But I just sent the link to his email, and we're gonna see what happens going forward. We're gonna see what happens going forward. Let me see if he. So sometimes for some people, for some reason, they can't take the link through the email. They want it in the chat room, so I'm throwing it in the chat. Don't a bunch of people just take that link? That link ain't for everybody. That link ain't for everybody. Let me just see if ARC can take the link that way. I have no other way of communicating with him other than through email, and he haven't responded through email, so we'll see what happens right there. But what I was saying is that, yes, it is a sales game. It's a sales pitch. It's how you sell yourself, how you market yourself. When I sold cars for a little bit, most of the guys, they kind of was overachievers. Just visually, when you look at them, they didn't look like, ladies' men, but they did well with the ladies. They did well with the ladies because they had good verbal skills. Verbal skills matter. All right, you know what? We're going to do it like this. Link is in the chat. Anybody can come on up. Anybody can come on up. Anybody can come on up. If ARC comes back, I'll drop you down. I had 2 more good questions about the book that I wanted to ask him that I do want to make sure that we get into before we open it up. But right now, I'll put it out there. I'll put it out there. Put the link out there. Y'all can come on up because I don't know what's going on with ARC. Al Boogie said ARC went and took a nap. He went and took an old nigga nap. Shout out to Fantastic. He had to go take an old nigga nap. Fast Life says the incels got ARC phone line. Yeah, he been hacked or hijacked or something going on. Something is going on. Something's going on. Honator. What you talking about, Omega Dreads? Omega Dreads, stay talking about some nonsense. Stay talking about some nonsense. All right, let's see. I'm looking at something right now. Bear with me. Bear with me because I'm trying to figure out ways to contact him. Ways to contact him. Trying to get it figured out. Do a show about it. Need to reread it and get fresh notes. The white man kidnapped ARC. I'm just reading comments. Give me some comments. Throw out something to work with. Throw out something to work with. Omega Dress Gaming Channel, DMT is amazing. D'Anthony Sims says, your looks are your sales pitch. It's well-known people that are attractive tend to do better in sales. But looks aren't the only thing, because there are some very persuasive, not so attractive people. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen it. Being able to talk and communicate is a very important thing. Being comfortable and confident while you're doing it, that is extremely important. Like we can't underestimate that. Like there are certain things that can be equalizers that we don't average into the equation. Nobody is crazy enough to sit here and try to say that some guy who's just completely unattractive is going to just do exceedingly well with women. But you can up your percentages. You can up your quantity and quality just by being a good communicator. But see, here's the catch. I forgot who it was. I think it might have been Darth Slothius who was on here. He was saying, just be charming. Just have charisma. You just got to have charisma. It's all about charisma. Charisma. I don't think that's just some natural thing that you can just pull out of the sky. I think that's a hard thing to do. I think you either got it or you don't. I think you can improve it a little bit, but some people are just naturals at that. Some people are just they're born with it. You could develop it. You know, there's I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Toastmakers. They help people to, do public speeches and the whole works. So yes, you can improve it. You can if you're completely in the toilet and completely trash, you can go from trash to decent. Trash to decent. But far as just being I'm skeptical of how far the needle moves. You look at Kevin Samuels and the confidence that he speaks with, how he's, it's just oozing out of him. Now, I'm sure he had to work on that, but he did have experience in corporate sales. He was, per his story, that, he was the ladies' man even back in college. So selling himself is something that he's always been good at. He made a career out of it, and essentially has a career on YouTube about doing it now. So yeah, selling yourself matters. Being able to sell yourself matters, but if you got the looks and you know how to sell yourself, then yeah, you're killing the game. You're killing the game. Thank you, King Dadango. King Dadango. Dadango. I think I said that right. Shout out to you. Thank you for the super chat. Hey, if ARC fell off a cliff and nobody, as I said, anybody can come up now. If nobody want to come up, I'm going to wrap this up. If nobody wants to come up, I'm going to wrap this up. We can get this thing done and over with. I do want to bring ARC back because I did have some specific questions that I wanted to. We was doing a slow burn lead into it, and I was just about to get into the nitty-gritty parts of the book. Things that I really wanted to poke and prod and pick his brain on We was about to just get into that. So our bare minimum, if we can't get them back right now, I would bare minimum like to get ARC back for a brief brief one-on-one when we get to questions, get those questions out and on the table. I'm giving you Negroes 3 minutes. 3 minutes. And we may wrap this thing on up. Oh shit! No, we got. Hey, we got big. Okay, and then the background noise. Hold on. We got background noise, but we got Big Ike in the building. Let me see if I can get this background noise figured out. Oh wait, hold on. Ike, is that actually you? Ike, mic check 1 2. I think there might be somebody trolling. All right, beat it as it may, either way, I'm gonna drop. If that was Ike, I'm not even 100% sure. I'm gonna drop it down because we got Alan Roger Curry back in the building. What happened, man? They came and got you?
Man,
Are you there?
Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. The picture quality look a little fuzzy, a little hazy. All right, people coming up in the back chat. I got ARC back, so y'all drop down. We're about to try to finish the interview. So I'm gonna drop y'all out of there. All right. What happened?
Man, number one, I apologize, man. Now I know you got a term. I can't remember what your term is. Struggle wireless or something like that.
Oh no, that was actually O'Shea's term. He said plantation wireless.
Plantation. Now I know a lot of brothers thought I had plantation. Man, I got Xfinity, man, and without getting a long story, I've had some off and on issues with them. Now, normally, the only time I have problems is like if there's a thunderstorm or something like that. Even then, I shouldn't be having problems. But today is a clear day, and we were just talking, and all of a sudden, man, my router just like fucking went out. But no.
Oh man.
What the I can't tell you how pissed I am, but again, man, multiple apologies to you, man. Yeah, it's this damn internet, Xfinity internet. It makes me want to switch back to AT&T, but shoot, I had problems with AT&T. So
you're in a bad spot, in a bad location, or something.
I'm thinking, man.
Do you know if your neighbors be having the same problem or no?
Oh yeah, they have.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you just in a bad spot. You can't. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe either when they build some new towers or something, or you find some internet service provider that got to set up to where your spot is a spot that can actually receive good connection. But yeah, that's tough.
Here's the excuse they gave me one time. They said, Mr. Curry, you have a lot of squirrels that nibble on the cables. And I was like, nigga, really? Squirrels?
He was like, squirrels nibbling on the table. Insert dog
face. Fucking squirrels fucking up my internet. Get out of here. Anyway, again, multiple apologies.
No problem.
I think the last place we cut off, man. Yeah, I was just talking about the whole lying. A lot of feminists want lying to be a crime. rather than just something that's an unethical no-no. So there you go.
Yeah. No, the next thing we already sort of teased the audience about what my next line of questioning was going to be. This is something that I really wanted to get into. There's a few things. You talked about first let's talk about the no free attention. Let's get right down to the core of the book, the title of the book, no free attention. How does that play out? Let's talk about how men should be executing that. I mean, and I know you. Well. Let's talk about it much as you can, much as you want to. I'll say that. As far as if you're pursuing, hold on, because I don't got the screen up. Did he just drop again? Oh my goodness. Hey, we might just have to reschedule. We might just have to reschedule. Yeah, Emin Perry, I think I'm throwing in. We might throw in the towel for the day. We might throw in the towel. Yeah. Yeah, Black Wolf. This ain't even a build a plane while you fly it situation right here. This is just some weird internet connections going on. Weird internet connection. Well, say something. Let me see if you lagging or not. I don't even know if you
testing 1 2 3, testing 1 2 3, testing 1 2 3.
All right, yeah, you sound good. We're gonna try it one more time. If we gotta call it short, or maybe we can just do a little brief follow up or something like that. But if we gotta call it short, we gotta call it short. I mean, it's is what it is. If it's something out of our control, then it is what it is. But let's give it one more shot. One more shot. I don't know if you heard the last question that I was trying to set up when I was talking about the whole concept of no free attention. To be pursuing a woman sexually, you're giving her attention. You are giving her attention. So just break down what is truly meant by no free attention, because I got another question I want to get to after this one, but I want to formally make sure I set this one properly up. That if you're pursuing a woman, you're trying to have sex with a woman, you are giving her attention. So just explain directly what is meant by no free attention.
Yeah, a lot of guys tend to feel like if they feel like the one way to earn what I call earn brownie points from a woman is to hang out with them, maybe go out to lunch with them 2 or 3 times, go out to dinner with them 2 or 3 times, sometimes even worse, just hanging out almost like friends before they make the move to try to have sex with them. And hey, JJ, I will accept all jokes and criticisms on my internet right now. I ain't gonna deny any of the insults and jokes because I'm trying to hide it on my face, but on the passivity scale from 1 to 10, I'm about a 25 right now. And Xfinity going to hear from me. This is straight up bullshit. But so yeah, man, a lot of guys, yeah, will simply give women access to because women want men's access to men's non-sexual time, attention, and companionship big time.
Mm-hmm.
Big time. And a lot of women will do anything to get it. And for example, I think I heard, was it on your show? It might have been on somebody else. I heard Obsidian saying, essentially asking the question, why do women hook up with guys that they really aren't physically attracted to and or sexually attracted to, I get a simple answer. It's usually one of these two things, if not both. That guy provides them with very flattering, entertaining, and emotionally empathetic non-sexual attention, and or that guy provides them with dependable financial provision. Women will sacrifice physical and sexual attraction and sexual chemistry for the sake of earning dependable, flattering, entertaining, and emotionally empathetic non-sexual time, attention, and companionship, and or financial provision. And so my basic attitude is, man, particularly when my interest is casual sex, man, I ain't trying to hang out with no woman for like 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours in an attempt to have sex with her only for that woman to potentially say, no, I'm not interested, or no, I'm not feeling you that way. My attitude is, if you're going to make it hard for me to gain access to your sexual companionship, I'm going to make it challenging for you to gain access to my non-sexual companionship.
Gotcha. Now, this is the next part, and this part can be a little confusing. All right.
Okay.
You say that it's important for a guy to not come off as horny, as looking like he's just sex driven. And this was more in the, because I was doing a dual listening to the to the audio book. I was listening to the possibility of sex, and I was reading No Free Attention, and comparing and contrasting and all of that. But I heard an emphasis on this in the possibility of sex, where you were saying that it's important that for a guy to not come off as horny. You talked about how the situation at the church and everything, how when men hold back their sexual aggression or coming at women sexually, that it makes women want them more in everything. But when you take that, infuse it with being mode one and going right to the sex conversation, like, how do you fuse those two? How do you not come off as overtly horny, aggressive sexually, while simultaneously putting sex right on the table in the conversation, and that's the only way that you're giving the attention? You see?
Okay, well that's another good question, babe. And it's going to involve me kind of bringing up some names, but off and on. Shit. But in last year, 2020, I had a back and forth with a brother, Stevie Dean Williams, and a former street pimp named Rosebud Bitterdose. And actually, before this exchange, I used to have a lot of respect for Rosebud Bitterdose. But along the lines of your question, that was his criticism. He basically, without getting too lengthy, both of them slammed my Mode 1 approach. And Rosebud, he had mainly two criticisms of Mode 1. He said Mode 1 puts you in a vulnerable position to be manipulated, which is totally not true. I would say it's actually just the opposite. And then his second criticism was, he said Mode 1 makes you look like you thirsty. Makes it look like, you impatiently horny. And in his partial defense, some other men have tried to make that argument. No, it doesn't. He would be desperately horny is when you come to a woman basically with an underlying attitude like, hey, baby, damn, you so fine. I'd do anything to go to bed with you. Do anything. What you want me to do? I pay your bills. I take you out on a trip. Come on, baby. Let me get some of that. Damn, I want you so bad. See, that's being desperately horny. I ain't never came at no woman like that. So being straightforward is not synonymous or equal to coming across as impatient or desperate. My attitude is simply, I approach women with attitude like, hey, the reason I'm talking to you is because ultimately I want to fuck you. Now, I might not necessarily say those exact words, although sometimes I have, but that's at least my underlying attitude is that, hey, I'm not going to waste your time trying to pretend like I care about your favorite foods and your biographical history from high school or college. I'm talking to you because I'm attracted to you and I want to exchange orgasms with you. What's your thoughts on that? And if they immediately give me, say a response like, no, I ain't feeling you like that, I'm like, okay, take care. Like one thing I talk about in my book, Who Said Again, that I used to be known for in LA, was if a woman initiated a conversation with me, saying like, I don't know, like a house party, and I could tell she was on the way to engaging me in some lengthy bullshit, trivial small talk, I would just look at their eyes and say, so when we fucking? That was like my classic line. I'd be like, so when we fucking? And that was my way of basically saying to a woman, if we're not going to ultimately exchange orgasms, I ain't trying to have no 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour conversation with you about your sister's dog who just had leg surgery. I don't give a fuck. And so, yeah, to me, being straightforward has nothing to do with being desperate. Is when you come across like, I'm willing to do anything to get you in bed. And you giving a woman what I call the egotistical upper hand.
Mm-hmm.
And see, I don't do that. I don't come at any woman with an underlying attitude like I'm willing to do anything. I'm willing to take you to the best and best of restaurants. I'm willing to pay your utility bills. I'm willing to wash your car. I'm willing to do anything to get you in bed. I ain't never came at a woman like that. Matter of fact, if anything, what I'm known for among a lot of women that have told me over the years, I'm real cocky about my shit. I tend to almost have an attitude with women like, I know you want some of this dick. And it's raised a lot of eyebrows from the time I was in my 20s, but my basic attitude with women would be like, I know you want me to fuck you. I know you do. Don't even try to act like you don't. Even if I wasn't 100% sure that woman was attracted to me, I would be cocky like that. I'd be like, you want me to fuck you. And here would be my telltale sign. Because if a woman start hesitating, then I know I was on the money. Now, if a woman immediately said, nah, I ain't attracted to you like that. I ain't feeling you like that. Then I usually took her on face value. But if a woman starts saying, you're kind of full of yourself. And, I don't know, you're kind of too cocky. I'd be like, basically like, shut the fuck up. Why are you still standing here? I don't know how many times in my life I've asked a woman that. Either one or two things. Why are you still sitting next to me or why are you still standing next to me? I mean, like, why are you still engaged in the conversation with me if you ain't, when I've already let you know that the main reason I'm talking to you because I want to fuck you. Why are you still here?
Mm-hmm. Platinum Elite in the building says, get your smash on, ARC. Shout out to Black.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, shout out to Black Wolf Inc. Just sent another cash app, sent a $5 cash app. Appreciate Black Wolf. But yeah, shout out to Platinum for the super chat. Says, get your smash on, ARC. You was about to say something?
No, I was just gonna say, hey, if anybody got some recommendations other than Xfinity and AT&T, I'll listen to all of them.
All right, let's talk about how. Because you spoke a lot about how women, they have that need to not socially look like a slut. It goes against their social programming. Explain how you overcome that when you're doing mode 1, especially mode 1 hardcore. That's a whole nother animal. But just being that direct about it, aren't you going against their programming? They don't want to feel like a slut. So explain, how do you overcome that hurdle? Because I think that's most guys' problem with mode 1. They feel like they're not just trying to get over the hurdle of I'm trying to get some sex from this woman, but now being mode 1, they feel like now I'm fighting with her social programming too. So,
I'll say this: when I've been asked that question before. I'm not going to give you too much detail because then I'd almost be giving like a free consultation or something.
All right, yeah.
Time
out. When I was coming up with these questions, I was like, these might be his questions, the type of information make sure that he give to clients. But I was like, I'm just going to throw out the questions out there. You can answer as detailed as you want.
Yeah, anything related to particular. I give a lot of advice in different areas, but when it comes to verbal seduction related advice, that's like you could say my bread and butter. That's the number one area of advice where I earn most of my money. Like most of my one-on-one coaching sessions, which is my most expensive form of coaching, is motivated by guys wanting to know how to become more of a master verbal seducer. But here's what I have been willing to say in interviews. Basically, it's like this. Most, if not all women, well, really all of us men too, we listen to different voices.
Mm-hmm.
I say a minimum two. We listen to the voice of our social programming and cultural conditioning. You know, that's how mommy and daddy told us how to act to be considered an acceptable citizen and not to offend people and not rock the boat with people. So we're taught to be well-mannered, you know, say the right things in the right way. And I always characterize that as the little white angel on your right shoulder. So that little white angel is saying, Bernard, act this way. And even more prominently, it's telling a woman, Lisa, you present yourself as a respectable good girl. Because if you don't, you more than likely, you're not going to find a husband.
Mm-hmm.
You got to present yourself as a respectable good girl. But then your biological impulses and raw desires create another voice that I characterize as the little devil on your left shoulder. And a lot of times those two voices are in conflict with each other. And I would say particularly, I would say even for men, but definitely for women. So an oversimplistic way of describing verbal seduction is when a woman is having an internal conflict, you got to persuade her to listen to this voice instead of this voice.
Mm.
So when I approach a woman, and let's say I'm being more one hardcore, let's say I go up to a woman, you know, Linda. I'm like, Linda, you a sexy motherfucker. Man, I want to just slide my dick all up in that juicy pussy I know you got. I want to fuck the shit out of you. I'm looking her dead in the eyes. I said, I want to fuck the shit out of you. Here's what will happen under the normal scenario. Immediately, this angel social program voice says, oh my God, who is this asshole? Who is this jerk? This guy has no intentions of marrying you. He has no intentions of having a long-term romantic relationship. Linda, you need to reject him right now. You need to curse him out and tell him he's an asshole and a jerk. He needs to treat you like the respectable, good girl that you are. Now, if she just exclusively listens to that voice, that's what she's going to do. She's going to say, you're an asshole. Get out of my face. You know, I would never, ever go to bed with a guy like you. But here's what happens when this voice says, oh, hold up. Hold up. I like this brother's style. This brother got balls. He got the balls to straightforwardly telling me as opposed to all these other guys who try to lie to me and bullshit me. He got the balls to tell me straight up he want to fuck me. And I think he will fuck me the way I need to be fucked. I want to get this guy some pussy. Shit, I like his style. I like a man like that. Linda, go ahead and give him some pussy. And then figuratively speaking, these two just start basically arguing. And how that would play out in real time is when a woman starts resisting you rather than flat out rejecting. She starts saying stuff like, I don't know about that approach. Most guys who approach me, they're gentlemen. And they talk to me with the highest degree of respect. And I'll probably say something like, what makes you think I don't respect you? Because I want to fuck you. That means I don't respect you. You're a sexual human being, aren't you? Tell me you're not. If you tell me you're not a sexual human being, I'll leave you alone. But I know you get sexual desires. I know there's things you think about and visualize that gets your pussy wet, that makes you want to touch your pussy. Don't you touch your pussy? That's personal. Yeah. Why are you asking me that? Because I want to get to know you personally. Tell me you don't touch your pussy, you don't think about getting fucked, and I'll leave you alone right now. But I think you do. And then at some point, here's when you know you're breaking them down. They start looking around like because they want to make sure ain't nobody nearby.
That's social programming, see?
Yeah, that's social programming. They look around and they say, you nasty. You nasty. I kind of like it though. You nasty. I like a man who's nasty like that. I like you. Damn right you like it. And say, sir, I would love for you to fuck me. I'm not calling you sir. Say it. Sometimes I'll be honest. I'll say, bitch, say it. Say, sir, I want you to fuck me. Then again, okay, just at one time, I'm saying, sir, I want you to say it again. And of course, that's where the title of my book comes. I always have women repeat stuff. I'll say it again. Sir, I want you to fuck me. When you want me to fuck you? I don't know, when you're available. So, yeah, I always look. Here's what I look for, and then I'm going to shut up because I don't want to get too much more to you. But pretty much, I look for the chat room. I look for congruent versus incongruent behavior. And I talk about that in my books. I like congruent. If a woman's behavior, congruent simply means everything about your behavior and your body language is in line with your words. So, like right now, if I was to say, I'm feeling relaxed right now, then you can say that I'm congruent because I'm saying I'm relaxing. But if I was to say, I'm relaxed right now, I'm not angry, I'm relaxed right now, that's incongruent. I'm saying I'm relaxed and I'm not angry, but everything about my vocal inflections is telling you I'm angry. A lot of women who are wholesome pretenders and erotic hypocrites, the women you can seduce, they tend to do incongruent shit. Like, for example, the most obvious one is they'll say, you're not the type of guy I would have sex with. But again, my easy question would be, then why are you still standing here then? Why are you still standing here? Why are you listening to me talk a whole bunch of shit to you and you ain't walked away yet? You know, so
you know what? You know what just happened?
What?
Shout out to Fantastic. This why dudes don't really mess with the "Ooh, say it again" audio book. If they gotta hear your voice changing like that, telling erotic stories, they like, Fantastic was like, it ain't nothing but niggas in here. Quit changing your voice.
Well, hey, you know, now here's what's funny about that. I was just talking about this on Sister George's channel. I notice whenever guys in the manosphere want to call themselves impersonate me, they always impersonate the angry, irritated, agitated voice. But that voice I just did, the seduction mode voice, I ain't never heard no niggas imitate that, impersonate that. Women actually know how to do me better than most men I know. I've had a lot of women, particularly when I used to do my blog, that radio show. They would be like, Alan, I got you down. I'd be like, really? Okay, show me. And I'd say at least 3/4 of that, they would have me down, like with that voice, the erotic conversationalist voice. Like, yeah, this is Alan. Don't you say that shit again. Don't you say that shit again. I mean, I used to be essentially a phone sex gigolo, man. So all those motherfuckers, I've seen it in comment section where people say, man, Alan Curry's voice irritates me. He sounds like Bill Cosby sometimes.
Man, I swear I said
my fucking irritated voice. Y'all ain't talking about my smooth, seductive voice. Because trust me, this voice knows how to get many women's pussy wet.
Yeah, first time I heard you talk, I did say you were sounding like Bill Cosby. So that's funny that other people would be saying that. But no, when you was breaking down how to essentially break down their social programming, that's the part of it where I say that's hard to teach. And I know some dudes probably have a hard time with that on the fly with the new woman. With me personally, once I build some chemistry with a woman, especially if we already fucking and everything, then yeah, that dirty talk game become a thing. But yeah, but it goes against social programming all day to be like that in a first conversation with a chick. So to be able to pull that off, that's
see, you just hit it on the head.
Pretty amazing.
When I came, this goes back to my history in the manosphere. See, when I first came on the scene, nobody was talking about that. Nobody. I was literally the first guy. Like, if guys did, a lot of guys didn't bring up talking dirty, period. But if they did bring it up, they talked about talking dirty women like what you just said after you already fucked the woman. Or at minimum, you're in a position to fuck the woman. You like say you got her in bed. That's what most guys would bring up the subject talking dirty. I was the first guy who was bold enough to say, no, I talk dirty to women in the very first conversation. And like 99% of guys were like, what? Like, I had guys call me crazy. They was like, oh, that's crazy. You ain't gonna never have no success doing that shit. You can't talk dirty to a woman when you very fresh. I'd be like, shit. And anybody who knew me in real life would be like, shit, y'all ain't never been around Alan Roger Curry then. Shit, man, my shit's, I ain't gonna tell as Silent Lamont would call all my nigga tales, but I'll just say this. There's a reason why my nickname starting with college was The Legend, D-A Legend, because I've talked dirty women as quickly as within the first 15 to 30 seconds after I first start talking to them. I would say something X-rated or sexually explicit. And most people would assume, because that goes against most people and most women's social program, that all the women would have this negative reaction. But the reality is, how a lot of it went is that they would initially have a negative reaction for the first, say, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. But then once I start slowly breaking them down, again, they would do the like, you nasty. I like that shit. You nasty. So
right on. Shout out. I think I missed a few super chats. So shout out to everybody who's been sending the super chats. And Snuggles, the $5 super chat champion of the world when it comes to them $5 super chats. Shout out. Sure. Well, I think Fantastic will say, I don't know, is it Dollar Washer? Yeah, Dollar Washer is the $5 champion when it comes to them super chats. But Snuggles be hitting me with like at least $5 super chats per show. So I appreciate him. He says, ARC, do you study tones and frequencies? Is that human beings vibrate on, or does it come natural to you? Is there any science behind your experience? Before you answer that one, Ike, you was trying to get up here. I'm putting that back in there for you, Ike, the link. Go ahead and hit that link, Ike. If you wanted to come up and ask some questions for ARC. We're going to open it up. We're wrapping it up at the 3-hour mark. So we're going to do some brief questions, come up with questions, not to do a speech or a sermon. Well, Ike, you can come up and do whatever the hell you want, because you the true super chat. The true super chat champion of the world up in here. Yeah, you can come up, do whatever the hell you want. But so the link is in there for Ike. But anybody else who come up, definitely come up and come up with questions. But you can go ahead and answer that question, ARC.
Well, it will provoke me to tell a story that some of my longtime followers heard before, and this is going to give credence to the with your argument and some other people. Remember when we were talking about my different books, I said one of the main critical arguments against my book, Who Said Again, is essentially, Alan, you got a talent for that, the dirty talk thing. And not, I don't know if that's necessarily teachable. Well, I had one instance where this woman, when I was doing my Blog Talk radio show a few years ago, she called in to actually criticize my show. And then within 3 to 5 minutes of talking to her, I had her giggling and basically saying nasty shit. And so after that show, she wrote me, she said, can I talk to you privately within the next couple of days? I said, sure. So we got on the phone either the next day or 2 days later, and she was really into that whole metaphysical piece, which a lot of women are. Some men too. The whole like chakras and energy and stuff. And without getting too lengthy, trying to skip over some miscellaneous details, she was basically like, Alan, I think you're misleading a lot of your followers and supporters and clients. I said, how so? She said, because I'm really into the whole energy thing. And she said, to me, you're giving guys the impression that they can just emulate you and become this master seducer in a matter of like, a week or two. And she said, and number one, I said, no, I don't ever tell no man that they can just, buy my book and then become a master seducer in a week or two. And she went on to say, she said, Alan, I know what you do. She said, you have a rare talent, which is, among other things, you tune in to women's vocal energy, their vocal vibrations. She said, because that's what you did with me. When I first start criticizing you, instead of you immediately getting like defensive or argumentative, you listened and you knew I had an underlying submissiveness, which she did. And she said, then you slowly but surely took advantage of that. Next thing I know, you had me calling you sir and daddy and Mr. Curry. But she said that wouldn't have come from, she said the type of talent you had, I know you honed over a period of years. You didn't hone that over a period of 2 or 3 weeks or even 2 or 3 months. She said that type of talent you have, you hone that over some years. And the thing was, I didn't really disagree with her. And that's one of the reasons, if people pay attention to the title on Who Said Again, it says, Who Said Again, Mastering the Fine Art. See, for those ignorant to that term, when something is a fine art, that means essentially you got to hone it for years, at minimum of quite a few months, and at maximum a few years. See, easily acquired skill or a science, like that's what most colleges have, the arts and sciences. Science is one thing. Once you figure out the formula, you just tell people the formula, they repeat the formula, and then they do it. Whereas an art, like Steph Curry has developed the fine art of shooting 3-pointers. I can't just watch Steph Curry and go on an NBA court and shoot like him. At this age, it would be impossible for me to emulate him. And even if I had more reasonable basketball talent, that would take some years for me to develop that type of, because that's the art he has. He's developed the art of shooting a 3-point shot. Mm-hmm. So yeah, verbal seduction, it is. And that's why, again, I use that specific word in the subtitle, mastering the fine art of verbal seduction and oral, A-U-R-A-L, oral sex. Because here's the thing a lot of men don't realize about women. In general, we're both visual and auditory, but men, generally speaking, exceptions aside, are far more visual than we are auditory, and women are almost just the opposite. Women get turned on just as much, if not somewhat more, by what they hear. Women are extremely auditory. So if you know how to talk shit in the right way.
Right on. Good stuff. But we are joined by Big Ike in the building. What's going on? Welcome to the show.
Shout out to Bernard. Can you hear me? Bernard, and shout out to ARC as well. Am I coming off clear here?
Yeah, you're coming off. You're good.
Thank you, Ike, for financing this interview. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All right,
Bernard. What you got?
Yeah, I don't. I'm going to be brief, okay, and I'm going to be quick. I'm going to try to be simple. The reason I'd come in earlier was try to, help out the stream, if you will, after when the white man held ARC back there for a second. But
yeah,
I'll tell you the classic with that. The white
shout out to O'Shea. But I wanted to just hop in, but it was also to make a point, right? And it concurs with what the whole line of ARC that he's saying, right? But I want to take it up a step in terms of generality to talk about influencing, persuasion, and sales in general, right? Because that is, when we take it up a level in terms of generality, that is what we're talking about, right? And there's commonalities to all these things, okay? I just want to say that, look, simplicity is always better than complexity, okay? And direct is more simple than indirect. I'll say that again, okay? In sales, persuasion, influencing of any kind, simplicity is always better than complexity. That's why, Southwest, want to get away, pa-da-pa-pa-pa, I'm loving it, or whatever it may be, whatever slogan, whether you're Hitler, you're trying to get the German people to do some crazy stuff, or you're trying to get people to buy something. Marketing knows this, okay? Politicians know this. You have a simple, make America great again, whatever it may be. It's easy to pound it into your head. Now, that's one way of just demonstrating why simplicity is key, right? So we get an intuition for it. And then you move on to the fact that direct is always simpler than indirect, okay? Now, as a salesperson, you want to tell the client exactly why you're there. Because just like ARC said, there's going to be an initial spike of like, whoa, people usually don't just tell me directly, oh, that they're here to, look, I'm here to sell you this thing, okay? It is my goal today, and I use that statement when I'm doing the sales presentation and stuff like that, like what my goal is within the first 2 sentences. Because Otherwise, they're shifty. They're moving their feet around like, why is this person here? Why, all this crap. It's like, no. Within the first 2 sentences, I'm telling you exactly why I'm here. Now, it's not their job to buy. It's my job to sell. And I make them feel comfortable that, hey, at least I know the end game. I know the lay of the land. I know the chess game that we're playing. You know what I mean? So they know the parameters. This is the game where this guy is trying to sell me this pen. That kind of a thing, right? And then your demeanor and your nonverbal communication skills is what displays the non-desperation. Because in sales, we call it commission breath. You don't want them to smell commission breath on you where you're desperate to get that commission, right? So you're direct with the communication. I'm looking you directly in the eye. Yes, my name is Ike. I specialize in this and I'm here. My goal today is X, right? But my demeanor and the way I've mastered my own game, because to Alan Roger Curry's point, there is an art to this, which means you got to be a professional about it, which means you got to practice it. It's not just something you just roll out of bed, and like, yeah, I'm just going to alpha my way through this. It's like, no, like we're human beings, right? Which means there's tact involved, there's skill involved, and even talent, okay? Because this is something else I also get, okay? In many regards, people say, Ike, you're talented, right? Because I'm a singer, I'm a front man in a band and so on and so forth. I can do certain kinds of things verbally and control a crowd in certain ways, right? But the thing is, it's not like I don't practice, right? Because talent is a gift that you have to hone with practice, right? The best people, the most talented basketball players, for example, practice the most, right? So again, just to kind of restate what I'm saying here, simplicity is always better than complexity. Directness is definitely more simple than indirectness. And then the non-desperation aspect, going back to what Alan said about you don't want to be that overly horny guy or whatever. Same thing applies with that sales thing. Imagine the sales guy that comes to you and tells you exactly what he's here for, but he doesn't look like he could take your money, or it doesn't matter. And people always give to those whom can demonstrate mastery. Okay, whether you're trying to get a number or you're trying to get a loan or whatever it is you're trying to do, if you can demonstrate that you don't need it in the case of a loan, I got collateral, I got good credit, I'm coming to you to get, to finance my business, but I already demonstrate that, hey, I have customers. I'm already doing this business and I'm going to do it with or without you. Yes, it may be slower or I go find someone else to fund it, but I'm demonstrating mastery over the situation, and therefore I get what I want. So that's generally what I just wanted to say. Take it up to a level of generality to state that these things are valid for all areas of influencing, sales, and persuasion.
Wow. Go ahead, Harry.
Good stuff, Ike. Number one, yeah, it's funny because when my book first came out, Mo 1, one of the comments I got from friends, acquaintances, and even people I didn't know, they said, Alan, you're actually limiting the scope of this book. They was like, by you just talking about dating relationships, they was like, your Mo 1 approach can apply to different areas in life. Verbal communication between family members, between coworkers, and matter of fact, on a quick side note, so that people don't think I'll just accuse other black people and specifically black men of being copycats of my content. There's a white woman.
Mm-hmm.
Probably saw a video I did 2019. She got a book out called Radical Candor, which her title is basically more so a ripoff of Dr. Brad Blanton's book, Radical Honesty. And within her book, she basically ripped off my 4 modes of verbal communication. Only she, of course, didn't call them modes because that would be too blatant. I would be able to sue her with a snap. But and the smart thing she did, she took it out of the realm of dating and relationships. Hers is about employer-employee communication. But all her 4 different, as she calls them, styles line up with my Mode 1, Mode 2, Mode 3, Mode 4. And, but yeah, everything you said was on point. Here's the thing, man, and why direct, I strongly feel is much better indirect. Studies have been conducted where most human beings, particularly if they've in their past been taken advantage of or manipulated in some kind of way, most human beings don't trust you when you're too indirect. They feel like you're trying to run game on them.
Yep.
And if anybody knows my story from my original, like 1999, I think it's in my 2006 version of Mode 1. I started being Mode 1 in August of 1984. But what really solidified it was a story I included in my book where I picked up this former student of my mother used to be a teacher. And it was raining and thunderstorm one night, and I was in Gary, Indiana, and I saw her on a bus stop. And I picked her up, and I'm going to skip over some miscellaneous details. But what she ended up telling me that night is she was basically like, and a lot of women have said it since, she was like, Alan, I like your style. At first, she acted like actually she was a little bit offended by it. But then later on, she got relaxed, and she ended up confessing. She said, I love your well, I didn't call it Mode 1 just yet. She said, I love your bold, straightforward style. She said, because here's the thing, I'm going to give you some insight on women if you don't know it already. Us women, if you just start a conversation with us, we naturally assume you're trying to fuck us. If you say, hey, you like this weather today? In our minds, we saying he wants to fuck us. If you say, hey, did you see that movie with Will Smith? In our mind, we saying he wants to fuck us. If you talking about all this roundabout shit, deep down in our mind, we said, okay, I know you want to fuck me. When are you going to get to it? And she was like, we just sit back and kind of wait for how you going to go about it. Are you going to be straightforward like you just were with me? Are you going to beat around the bush and talk about all this goofy shit? Are you going to offer us money and materialistic gifts? What are you going to do? But we know if you're extra friendly or flirtatious, you're trying to fuck us. And she said only about probably 2 to 3% of men are bold and straightforward like you, Alan. She said, and you're the type of man we most respect because y'all got the balls to just come out and say, look, I ain't going to try to bullshit you and insult your intelligence. I'm talking to you right now because I'm trying to fuck you. And so that's what I always say to guys. I ain't trying to insult no woman's intelligence by saying, hey, God, is that a miniature schnauzer? Wow, I love that breed of dog. I ain't really talking about that. I ain't thinking about that shit. I'm thinking about, damn. Matter of fact, my wife just cracked up on this old clip. You ever been with Tracy Morgan? Anybody's familiar with Tracy Morgan? Mm-hmm. He used to play this character on Saturday Night Live called Astronaut Jones. And you got to watch those clips. Most of them are pretty funny, but the funniest probably of all was in his clips, he's always similar to like Captain Kirk from Star Trek. He's on another planet and he interacts with alien beings. And Britney Spears was the guest host on Saturday Night Live. And so he has an interaction with her. And she's saying, yes, I need your help. And he's like, uh-huh. And she says all this different stuff. And he's just like, yeah, okay, right, yeah, okay, uh-huh, yeah. And then after she's finished with her soliloquy, she said, she asked him a question. She said, so will you be able to help us? He says, yeah, I want you to take off that green jumpsuit and show me that fat ass. And the crowd just losing it, man. And my brother was like, see, that's Mode 1, man. Because, yeah, she was saying all this shit that he didn't care about. And he just got to the point after she was finished, like, he basically was like, I don't care about that shit. I want to see that fat ass you got. But, yeah, man, women, they don't trust most guys who do all that indirect bullshit, try to act like it's ridiculous to me for a guy to try to get laid by acting like he's not trying to get laid. That don't even make no fucking sense. But what Ike was, he said a lot of great stuff, but most prominently was you can be direct without being desperate. And one of the things that prevents you from being desperate is your nonverbal cues, your demeanor. And see, that's the type of stuff I work on with clients in my one-on-one face-to-face coaching sessions. Even though my main emphasis is usually verbal communication, when I do my one-on-ones, I put probably at least 50 to 60% of my emphasis on a man's nonverbal, his body language, his overall demeanor and disposition, because that all contributes. They work hand in hand. Yeah, you can't just put emphasis on one or the other exclusively. Verbal communication works hand in hand with your nonverbal communication. And so anyway, that was great commentary, Ike. I appreciate you adding that to the conversation.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sorry, Bernard.
Oh no, go ahead. You got it. Go ahead.
just want to add one thing, and then I'll back off here real quick. Okay. It's great that you mentioned you reiterated the nonverbal part. Okay. Now, to anybody who goes to my channel, they know that I came into this whole thing starting by talking about mastery of subjective consciousness, like being able to control your own feelings in your body, the images in your head, the talk in your head, not being the situation where the tail is wagging the dog, where you are always the observer. You can watch yourself rather than be quote unquote in your feelings or in your head. So you have that cool, calm, smooth demeanor. It's great for your heart rate, great for your health, great for community. It's just, look, there's no reason why you should not be doing that, okay? But it's also good for what ARC is talking about as well, right? And I'll also reiterate the part about practice. What I just mentioned requires practice, okay? And the whole point of some people talking about the talent, ARC mentioned something about that women are quite verbal, okay? So let me take it there and even just talk about clients in general. When you're dealing with clients, you always want to have an image in their head. And you want it to kind of be you don't want to paint the image completely. You want them to fill in the details. So for example, if I say, hey, imagine you're on the top of a skyscraper at high noon, right? Each person is going to imagine a different kind of skyscraper. So, some people is going to be in a desert. Some people is going to be in some people's sky is going to have cloud in it. Some people are going to focus on different aspects. They may focus on the feelings. Some people may focus on the architecture, so on and so forth. Okay. But basically, these same techniques work for any kind of persuasion or seduction and so on and so forth, where you're painting certain images in people's heads using your words. Again, some people are more talented than others, but still practice makes perfect. Don't be scared to practice your craft when it comes to any kind of influencing. Oh,
You said he was. I could hear him just fine. I thought that's probably on your end.
Oh, it's probably my plantation wireless.
Yeah,
My bad.
yeah, that plantation wireless. No, he was perfectly clear to me. So yeah,
AKA Xfinity.
yeah, Xfinity. Yeah, put one in the chat if Ike was clear to y'all, but I'm pretty sure he was clear to everybody else. But go ahead, Ike.
Yeah, so practice. Okay? You want that whole thing about thinking that it's all just gonna come off the dome at the time. That's kind of silly. There is no endeavor worth pursuing that happens that way. Right? So when you're talking about any kind of sales, influencing, persuasion of any kind, don't be scared to be like, well, I don't practice. No, I'm too alpha to practice. Well, that's just silly, right? So I was just kind of making the point that putting an image in people's head is always key because you're selling them a future. I'm not selling you a pen. I'm selling you a future where a part of a lifestyle, a story where that pen is integral. It's a part of it, right? I'm putting you into that mind space. And everything that ARC has been saying has been on point with regards to what he is talking about in particular. But as I'm saying, I'm just providing a level of, let's say, I'm corroborating what he says by lifting it up to the generality and saying that it applies when you're selling too. And with that, I'm going to back out.
All right, thanks, Ike. Appreciate you coming on up. Hey, I want to see a one-on-one with Ike do interviews on this show, so I want to see the two of you get together. That'd be an interesting conversation because a lot of the stuff that ARC is talking about, Ike, like you said, like you're talking about it from a different angle, a more general perspective. And that's something that ARC always say, that his mode 1 approach can be used to other aspects and areas of life. So that could be a interesting conversation should the two of you ever get together. I'd like to actually see that.
I'll be reaching out. I'll be reaching out.
Yeah, I definitely like to see that. But we're closing in on the 3-hour mark. You sent me a video that you wanted me to play. I forgot about it, but I got it pulled up ready to go. I don't know if you want to get into that. It was an example. It was a animated video of a guy essentially going mode 1.
What the significance of that video? You don't have to show it per se, but no, you mentioned about my variation of mode 1 called mode 1. See, I basically have 3 variations of mode 1. From most explicit to least would be mode 1 hardcore. That's when I'm just use a lot of profanity, sexually explicit language with women right off the rip. Then there's what I call my conventional mode 1. Conventional mode 1 is when you start off using relatively tame language, and then you slowly but surely escalate into using more provocative language. And then Mo 1.5 is when you don't use any profanity or sexually explicit language at all. And I find that 90% of the guys who attack Mo 1, they concentrate on Mo 1 hardcore. But I always have to repeat and tell guys, you can be Mo 1 without using profanity or X-ray language. And one of the best examples of that is that animated video. I did that probably like about 11 years ago. And at the time,
you actually hold on, you actually wrote that?
Oh yeah, because that was based on a real life conversation I had with him. I would say probably like 85 to 90% of that dialogue, that's not in totally like just made up, embellished dialogue. I would say probably there's a few lighthearted embellishments or exaggerations in there, but probably, I'd say probably 85% of that dialogue was actually representative of a real life Mo 1.5 conversation I had with a woman.
Okay, yeah. No, I will. When we done with the interview, when we wrap it up, when I close out, I'm gonna just play that video and just let the video just play at the end of the show, bare minimum. Because people who haven't seen that, I do want them to see that because it was pretty entertaining. It was pretty entertaining. But this will probably be the last question that I ask you, and you put an emphasis on this. You said you talked about the distinction between a sexist, a chauvinist, and a misogynist. Go ahead and break down that distinction. I found that interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah, even though I've had my battles on YouTube predominantly with other men, over the course of my 21-year career as a book author and dating coach, I've bumped heads with my share of women too. And particularly as it relates to the possibility of sex. I remember when that book first came out, I had some women, not too many, but at least a few, tried to brand it as a misogynistic piece of writing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, how is it misogynistic? And some women, I've even gotten there with the Beta Male Revolution. I had some woman wrote a review on, I think, audible.com saying that the Beta Male Revolution was misogynistic. And it was bullshit because...
Oh, wait. Oh, there you go. We good.
Here's a distinction. And a lot of women, probably more so than men, tend to conflate. Here's the first thing. I basically break down the difference between a sexist, a chauvinist, and a misogynist and a misandrist. Those first two labels, sexist and chauvinist, almost all the time get applied to men. A woman can be sexist. A woman can be chauvinistic. And I break down in the book how each can be. And so let's start with sexist. What a sexist is basically when you favor your own gender for certain like positions than the opposite gender. And so I think the example I give in the book, a male sexist would be if you own your own company and you say, I'm only going to hire men for my most important positions. Mm-hmm. And I might hire some women to be like a secretary, administrative assistant, but other than that, I'm going to hire men. That would be an example of male sexist. Female sexist would be a female judge who always awards child custody to a woman. Never awards child custody to the man. She's sexist. Mm-hmm. Chauvinist is somewhat similar to sex, but a little different. Chauvinist is when you firmly believe that men should operate in certain roles and women should operate in certain traditional roles. So, for example, if you're a man and you say, I think the man should always be the breadwinner and the woman should stay at home and nurture the kids and cook and clean. That would fall in the category of you being a male chauvinist. I've admitted to many women, I'm somewhat chauvinistic. That's the one category I will always confess some degree of guilt to. I'm a chauvinist. But a woman could be a female chauvinist. Case in point, example, female chauvinist would be, say, if you met a woman and she's making $150,000 a year and you making only $60,000 a year, but yet every time y'all go out to dinner, she says, well, I think you should pay for the dinner because you're the man. And men should always pay. That's a female chauvinistic statement to make. And then finally, a misogynist and a female counterpart would be a misandrist. that's when you actually have a passionate disdain and more so a hatred for the entire gender. And I point out that needs to be pointed out. Sometimes it could be a member of your own gender. For example, sometimes a man can be a misogynist. I mean, a misandrist. And sometimes a woman can be a misogynist.
Yeah, we get
a member of the opposite sex, but not always.
Yeah, we get a lot of those around here. So yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because a lot of men who were, fancy themselves as, say, a male feminist, a lot of them end up being misandrous, even though they're men. But yeah, that's when you just really don't want to associate. If you're a misogynist, you don't want to associate with women. If you're a misandrist, you really don't want to associate with men. And yeah, you at minimum, you're going to take every opportunity you can to say something verbally insulting about them. Like, all women ain't shit. All you women are no good bitches. At maximum and more extreme is you would like to see all of them just murdered somehow. You wouldn't have a problem with seeing them. If you're a misogynist, you wouldn't have a problem seeing women getting killed. If you're a misandrist, you wouldn't have a problem with seeing men getting killed. So, but yeah, my main point was a lot of women are quick to call a man a misogynist when in actuality, he's really more of a sexist and or a chauvinist.
All right. That will. Oh, and James Sandman, I saw the Cash App. I tried to thank you in the chat. Don't know if you saw that, but appreciate you for sending that Cash App. Platinum Elite just came through almost at the buzzer with a super chat. Shout out to Platinum Elite. He says, "Let the players eat. Get
Respect
your food on." Respect to Platinum, definitely. But like I said, everybody stick around because we wrapping this thing up. But I do want to just play that video. I'm just gonna let the video play and ride out as the show ends. But ARC, I'd like to formally thank you. This was a great interview, man. This is our third time, and like you said, I'm one of the only people that you've done more than three interviews with. I'm honored by that, and hey, greatly enjoyed this, greatly appreciated it, man. Hope we have many more of these with you, man. Appreciate it.
Well, again, for the upteenth time, man, I just want to offer my apologies, man. I had no idea this Xfinity internet was going to do this.
Yeah, it's cool.
That threw a monkey wrench, but other than that, man, I appreciate you've always shown me a lot of love, given me a lot of kudos and respect, and I more than appreciate that in this space. You got a great head on your shoulders, very intelligent, and most importantly, one quality I like about you is you're very objective. I always say I like objective-minded people, and you are one of the top people in this space in that category.
Thanks. I appreciate that. But everybody today, especially Ike, who came through with an extremely heavy-handed super chat, everybody else who contributed in any way, whether you hit the Cash App, the super chat, whether you liked the video, regardless of how you contributed to the show in any way, shape, or form, thank you very much. I appreciate you. And with that said, fellas, we are out of here. Peace.
No one.
So, when would you like to share my company? Next Friday or next Saturday?
Excuse me.
You're excused.
I don't even know you.
You will after we share each other's company next weekend. So, is next Friday better? Or next Saturday?
I don't even know your name.
Clark.
My name is Danielle. So Clark, if I do decide to share your company, what would we do? Would you take me out to a 5-star French restaurant?
No.
Would you take me to the Maxwell concert next weekend?
No.
Would you take me to see the new Denzel Washington movie about the runaway train?
Let me think about it.
Okay, think about it.
Okay, I thought about it.
And?
No.
Excuse me.
You are excused.
I bet your number one objective is to have sex with me.
My social intelligence prevents me from stating the obvious.
All men think about is sexual pleasure and instant gratification.
So, is next Friday more conducive to your schedule, or next Saturday?
All men are dogs. They make women think they want to be in a relationship with them and marry them, but in actuality, they just want sex.
Well, Danielle, unless you and I develop some really outstanding romantic chemistry at some point in the near future, I can inform you right now that it is not my desire to be in a long-term relationship with you. But you can never predict the future. Human emotions are complex and unpredictable.
I bet you are married.
No. I am not.
I bet you already have a serious girlfriend.
No. I do not.
I bet you are already having sex with other women.
That, Danielle, would be a valid assumption.
You must think you are some sort of player or pimp. Are you trying to recruit me as one of your new hoes?
My middle-class background and social intelligence will prevent me from responding to what seems to be a trick question. So Danielle, is next Friday better, or next Saturday?
Whatever happened to the days of courting a woman? Whining and dining a woman? Making her feel special? I want my knight in shining armor. I want a man to sweep me off of my feet.
So, you've never had a man woo you, court you, or wine and dine you?
I did not say that. Please, Clark, do not put words into my mouth. Listen and pay attention.
So you have.
Of course I have.
Then why are you not still in a relationship with one of these men?
They were too nice. After a while, I got bored. I need a man who presents a challenge to my ego. I need a real man with some backbone.
Interesting. So Danielle, next Friday or next Saturday?
Clark, you are not listening to me.
Yes, I am.
I want a man who is sweet, caring, romantic, and very monogamous-minded.
So Danielle, you have never dated a man who was romantic and monogamous-minded.
There you go again, Clark. You are putting words into my mouth. Yes, of course I have.
And why are you not still in a relationship with one of these men?
The relationships with these men started out great, but after a while, I felt like I was better off remaining just friends with these men. It was way too easy for me to have my way with them.
Interesting feedback, Danielle. So, next Friday, or next Saturday?
Clark, you are still not listening to me.
I beg to differ, Danielle. I am beginning to listen to every word that comes out of your mouth.
I do not like men who are lying womanizers. There's such a double standard in our society. If a woman has more than a handful of sex partners, she is labeled a hoe, a slut, or a kinky super freak. A man can have sex with dozens and dozens of women, but not be criticized for it or pay any price for it.
I am sure Tiger Woods would agree with you.
Don't be a smart ass, Clark. I want to date a man who is into me, and only me. I want to be the center of my man's universe.
So Danielle, you are telling me that you have never dated a man who made you the center of his universe and directed all of his attention toward you.
Clark, I did not say that. Men are such poor listeners.
So, as you were saying,
I was saying that I have dated men who concentrated all of their attention on me. At first I liked it, but later I did not.
why is that?
The relationships would start out great, but after a while, these types of men would become way too possessive and way too controlling. Anytime they saw me just talking to another man, they became incredibly jealous. I cannot handle a man who is too jealous and possessive.
I'm not the jealous type, so you do not have to worry. So, which is better? Next Friday or next Saturday?
See, this is what is wrong with men, Clark. You are not really listening to me.
I would challenge your assessment of my behavior. I am very much listening to everything you say.
I want a man who thinks with his brain and not with his dick. I love intelligent men. A man who has diverse interests. I don't want a man with a one-track mind. I can have casual sex with any man I want to on any day of any week of any month. And I am not saying that because I am conceited. but I am just keeping it 100% real. I can get sex from a man anytime.
So you have never dated a man who was intelligent and had sex as a secondary priority?
See, you are not listening. I never said that. Pay attention to what I am saying, Clark. Of course, I have dated an intelligent man who did not have sex at the top of his list of priorities.
Then why are you not still in a relationship with this man?
The relationship with this man started out great, but he ended up being such a workaholic and so into his various hobbies that I began to feel ignored. And on top of that, he could never last more than 2 or 3 minutes in bed. I need a man who can truly satisfy me sexually. I am a lady in the streets, but a freak in between the sheets.
That last comment is music to my ears, Danny L. I cannot wait to share your company next weekend. So, is it going to be next Friday or next Saturday?
Once again, Clark, you are not listening to me. Instead of trying to get in my pants, you should have brought me a dozen roses or some high-quality chocolate.
You have never had a man bring you flowers or chocolate before.
Clark, you are not listening to me. I never said that a man has never brought me flowers or chocolate before. Of course, I have had many men present me with flowers, candy, and other nice gifts.
Then why are you not still in a relationship with one of these well-mannered gentlemen?
I dated a few of these men, but in the long run, they began to feel as though they could just buy my love. You cannot buy my love. I am no man's kept woman. I have my own career so I can buy my own clothes. I don't need a man thinking that he owns me simply because he is paying my bills. I love being in a relationship, but I also need my freedom and independence.
So, you are not a materialistic gold digger type?
No, I am not a gold digger. I just want a man to bring something to the table. I will not support a lazy-ass, unemployed, unambitious man. I am intelligent, educated, and financially self-sufficient. My man should be all of those things as well.
I see no problem with that attitude.
I don't have an attitude, Clark. I really don't. My girlfriend showed me this book called Why Men Love Bitches. Maybe I should become a straight-up bitch. Then, I would have men throwing themselves at me.
As attractive as you are, you have never had men throw themselves at you?
You are going to make me become a straight-up bitch, Clark. You really are. You are not listening to me. Of course I have had men aggressively pursue me.
I bet you were flattered by such behavior.
No, not really. I don't really care for men who are too aggressive. In the long run, I tend to perceive those types as needy and desperate. I like a man who is cool, calm, and collected. A man who does not mind a woman being assertive sometimes. Most importantly, I love a man who is honest. I hate liars and game players. I am too old for games. Just give it to me real.
I believe in maintaining a confident, truth-telling style of communication with women.
Is that right?
Yes. That is right. And please, Danielle, don't pay attention to that book. Men do not really love bitches.
I haven't read the book yet. But I love the title. I am no man's doormat or pushover. I have my own mind, and I will let you know what I think. I am very well read. What types of books do you read? What was the last good book you read?
Mode 1. Let the women know what you're really thinking. It is a great book by an author named Alan Roger Curry.
I never heard of that book. But I like the subtitle. I love a man who lets me know what he is really thinking. I hate head games and lies. Just tell me the damn truth. Keep it real. Keep it 100.
Next weekend, you and I are going to have sex.
Excuse me.
You're excused.
You are so direct, so forward.
This is true.
Again, I am not a hoe.
Good.
I am not a slut.
Great.
I am not an easy lay. You will not seduce me easily.
I love a challenge.
Okay, Clark, I give in. I prefer Friday evening, but Saturday might work as well.
Great. I will see you next weekend.
So, Just to be clear, no 5-star French restaurant, no Maxwell concert, and no Denzel Washington movie.
Correct.
Just hot, kinky, sex.
Correct.
You are so forward, so direct. I can respect that.
Mode 1.
It was a pleasure meeting you, Clark. I look forward to next weekend. I love a man that keeps it 100. No lies, no games. Why can't more men be this way?